And kittens, welcome to another episode of SkepTalk. I am Aron and I am joined tonight by my lovely wife, Lilandra.
Hello to all the good people of the interwebs.
There's no good people in the interwebs. So, I don't know how all the rest of you are doing, but I suspect that y'all are like us, having to work harder and longer and earning less and paying more somehow. That seems to be our lot right now. And because we've made America great again, we've come to a point where we don't even have health insurance anymore. At my age. America. Ain't that sweet? And we've got call lines open. We are here to discuss. If you want to convince me of something that I disagree with you on, I'd be happy to hear it. And let's see, where is that number? Right, 720-619-2288. And there is a link in the description if you want to go in through call-in studio. And it can be religion or politics, but we generally favor theists. Right, and we do have someone in call right now. Honey, did you have any opening comments that you want to make before we get started?
Yes, I met Aron on the internet many years ago when people discuss things on discussion boards like Reddit and at a Christian forum. And I was raised in the South in a very isolated area. And I deconverted from religion because of the internet. So fast forward, we've been married for 16 years. And I'm starting to get a little bit discouraged at the discussion quality on the interwebs. I'm wondering, is it causing more harm than good? Because I'm watching in real time as a good man like Tim Walz is getting drugged for things that he didn't even do by a bad actor on YouTube. And he stepped down running for the governor. And our president just accused him of being responsible for the deaths of the representatives in Minnesota. And it just seems so hard with the signal to noise ratio to get a good message out there. And I lost my faith in God. Now I'm wondering, am I losing my faith in humanity as well? Not to be depressing.
There was a story that you pointed out to me, honey, that was a couple days ago. There was a I don't know, a TikTok, Instagram. I don't remember which social media thing it was that she was primarily on, but I would see them on Facebook Reels, where she did all these videos with this horrendous toothless dog. And then there was a terrible story about how they put the dog at a dog sitter and with another dog, and the other dog attacked it, caused a heart attack, and one of the other dogs, a friend of that dog, tried to jump in the fight and save him, and that dog ended up getting killed by the first dog too. And all of this is while that she has dropped her dogs off at a care center, right, so that she can go out of town. And then she gets drugged by all the damn trolls, so that they set up something. They set up like a website with 60,000 viewers or 3,000 viewers. I can't remember what the number was. I think Lilandra knows. But it's all these people who just hate on this woman and tell her how horrible she is and how horrible her dogs were immediately after she's lost 3 of them all in the same day.
It's
Think about how terrible
TikToker.
that and you know she loved them because we saw all the videos of her showing her love for these dogs.
It's a TikToker who has over 1 million subs, and her channel is bundles of bullies.
Yeah.
and people are just trying to drag her. And politically, I feel like it's really affected the entire world negatively. I don't know how to get it back. Of course, like follow independent news and media and discussions like this one on the line, where we're not sponsored by corporations. And I mean, look at our president of the United States, the king of all trolls. I mean, it's really hard. I remember when the internet first started a long time ago, it was a system of tubes,
Yeah.
and and there was like netiquette, and people were like, "Don't feed the trolls." But now we're feeding the trolls all the time, and they're getting bigger and bigger, and fatter, and huger and huger.
Yeah,
What's the president of the United States?
and now it's not just on the interwebs in real life. They're just as toxic and caustic. So yeah, it's disturbing. And then old dear friends from decades ago keep sending me all of these things trying to defend everything that Trump does, right? Yeah, from anecdotal reels or whatever, and they never understand. I have to explain like on a daily basis what the issue actually is, and it's frustrating how we lose people like that. I've seen all these people holding up the sign saying, "I don't know how to get you to I don't know how to get you to care about people," but that's what we've lost. I still have my compassion. My wife still has hers. Not a whole lot of us left.
I think there's a lot of compassionate people, and I can understand why they wouldn't want to wade in there because it's really toxic, and they want to live their lives without all this toxic but noise. But to me, it feels like people who bully other people are winning, not just
Yeah.
the internet.
Well,
Like
we do have a
politically.
call we can take, and let's see if we can get this one lone atheist out of the way and just line it up for all the theists after that. So, should be talking to Cyrus in England.
Hello.
How do you do?
I'm doing okay. I'm a bit tired. It's very late for me. But my question is, how did single cell life become multicellular, and what evidence do we have for this?
There's multiple different ways. It's happened in the lab, I think, twice, and I don't have the papers on hand. I mean, it would take me probably only a single minute to look them up, but then I'd have to read it. So I would suggest that you read it yourself, for this is for observed speciation events. And I don't remember if it's on the first list or the second list because they came out with two. However, in the initial evolution of metazoans, oh my God, am I having a senior moment where I can't remember the name of it? Choanoflagellates. Choanoflagellates uh, look very much like stylized or maybe decorated sperm cells. Just imagine that. Our basis, of course, is that of a sperm cell. And then these choanoflagellates are sperm cells with adaptations to them. And then when they cluster together, they effectively become epithelial cells. And so in porozoans, like sponges, for example, you would have all of these choanoflagellates cluster together in a collaborative group, and they spin their little tails around, but they're embedded now, so they're not using their flagellum for propulsion. They're using it to start waterways going. So inside of a sponge, for example, you have all these flagellum blowing for all of these different organisms, and they're all in a cluster now. There's no kind of organization to the outside body. That's what sponges look like, right? But this is the most simple type of animal, and so that with all their little flagellates going, they draw in water from one channel and then pipe it out through these chimneys, and they collect their food with these fronds, which, as I said, are just like basically, it's like a skirt. It's like, imagine a sperm cell wearing a grass skirt. That's the best way I can do this without drawing a picture. And they catch food particles that way. And that's the way that sponges at least eat. There's another group of porozoans parazoans that I can't remember what the name of that one is. It's a small disc-shaped vaguely. It's multicellular, but it looks single-celled. It looks kind of like a flattened amoeba. But anyway, it's a little bit different system with them. Those are the two most primitive forms of animal life.
Right.
Also,
Okay, that's different from
i-
what I would have expected.
if you think about it, in your own body, you have differentiated cells that perform different functions, and the there's most cells, because we're not plants, have a mitochondria. And as a former science teacher, mitochondria, I know this is drilled into all of you. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but it's actually a captured in its evolutionary history. It's actually used to be a different cell. So multicellular life, if you think about it, is just either cooperating cells for a mutual purpose, like Aron's sponge example, or a captured cell like the mitochondria. And now it's an organelle of cells, but it so
Could you think of
single
it kind of
cellular
like
life. Go ahead.
bio?
Endosymbiosis is what she's talking about. And
Right.
that's where a form of rickettsia bacteria was engulfed by an early eukaryote. So there are eukaryote cells that don't have mitochondria. They're very rare and they're extremely primitive. So only the most primitive type of eukaryote cells don't have these. The vast majority of them do. And then it was apparently that there was a lineage that followed after after they engulfed the mitochondria, and they have the same reproductive cycle. So that when the eukaryote cell splits, the mitochondria split as well, two of them, and so you always end up with one eukaryote with the two cells inside, just replicating that way. And then from that lineage, you get another lineage that starts with that configuration, but then they also had a second endosymbiosis event wherein they engulfed cyanobacteria. So you've got plant cells that have two rickettsia bacteria cells and two cyanobacteria, and we renamed them so that they're mitochondria and chloroplasts, which is why plants are green.
Right.
So
Okay.
they
Well, that's more
cooperate in a
information that
way
I've gotten in a good.
good. They cooperate in a way that's beneficial to each other, and their individual identity gets engulfed in it, and they over time you have somebody like us, even now, like we're talking to each other and all our cells are cooperating, and we're just hosting all of these other single cells in our digestive system, helping us to digest, and that's another thing altogether.
Yeah, most of the cells in your
So
body are not yours. Most of your cells are actually bacterial.
this is just like an idea I've been having. Then, could you have multi-organismic life, like where it's like one thing that we could identify as one life form, but it's actually made up of multiple life forms that aren't single-celled? So it's multiple
There are a few
multicellular
examples.
organisms.
There are a few examples of that. Um, there's the Portuguese man of war, which on the surface is a giant jellyfish, but it's actually a conglomeration of other animals. And I don't remember the specifics
Right.
about that. I'm sorry, I can't go into detail about that. But I know that the Portuguese man of war, commonly regarded as a large jellyfish, is not in fact a single animal. It's a group of animals somehow.
It's a communal animal, like communism. I'm joking there. They're all working together.
But there are at least two other examples. It would take me some time to remember the names and look them up, but there are. So I guess that's three in total that I know about.
Well,
Oh, and then there's
I want to say
there's a cancer, and that this is interesting. It occurs in Tasmanian devils, and then there's another similar one that I think relatively recently appeared in dogs. And the cancer is literally Tasmanian devil cells, or in the case of the dog one, dog cells, but they're not a Tasmanian devil anymore. You can remove the cells from the devil, and the cells can live independently, and they're communicable. So if they come into contact with another devil, they will infect other devils. So it's
Right.
yeah, it's cancer that I'm forgetting the word. Cancer that can be caught. It's a communicable cancer. Go figure that out.
People in the chat are saying birch trees are communal organisms as well, and somebody says lichens do this.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
and there's a forest of birch that are, I think, the oldest living organism, certainly the biggest, because it's basically a whole forest that's all basically one tree, all interconnected. Sorry?
Not only does it happen, but it also happens pretty often by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, unless you guys have anything else to add to this, you guys have answered more than my question. And I just want to say, Aron, you're one of my
Well, thank you so much.
favorite hosts on here. Maybe second only to Forrest. So.
Well, that's what happens when you're old and creepy and you go up against somebody young and cute.
I was really
reminds me of my brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was really relieved that you didn't set that up like multicellular life was a problem for evolution. I was going, oh no, but you just wanted to know how it works. Yeah.
I understood that there was Luca, which was single cell, and I understood there was a point where like they were multi-cell, but I didn't know where that transition happened. I didn't have a bridge there. So I was like, where the hell is the bridge? And I knew that if I would have searched it on Google, I would not have gotten that satisfying of an answer.
So there's another aspect to remember if you're talking about evolutionary relationships, because when you're only talking about microbes, there's a thing called horizontal gene transfer, where bacterial cells can just crash into each other and trade DNA. So they can get bits of each other's DNA on contact. So and thus change just another species of bacterial cell. And so the problem with that is that when you get into eukaryotes, it's easy enough to tell that that goats and sheep are more closely related to each other than either one is to cows, and the goats and the sheep and the cows are more closely related to.
Uh-oh, Aron is frozen.
Oh
no!
I thought my phone.
I can still hear you, Cyrus.
Okay,
there he is.
Can you still hear me? Okay, I was gone for a bit.
I can.
All right, well, and I'll see if I can remember what I was saying now. I don't. Getting old.
I remember the internet again. The internet. Anyways, me and Aron were discussing this very conversation when we first met each other on the internet at Christian forums. And we started out with single-celled life, and creationists sometimes they get stuck on like, well, how did everything suddenly start moving? How did rocks turn into the magic rock people or whatever? However, that it starts to get twisted, And Aron was talking to me about slime molds. Remember?
Yes, I love slime molds.
Yeah. Slime molds, like, they move together on the forest floor, but they're all single-celled. And they can break apart too, can't they, Aron?
Yeah, they're the one that you're talking about is Dictyostelium discoideum, and it's one that it's basically a collection of amoeba. And while these are independent amoeba, they can gather together. And I'm surprised that I didn't answer the question with this because it is important. These independently active amoeba can gather together to travel as a communal worm. And so they assemble themselves into worm form, and individually they're almost invisible, but then they assemble into the worm, and now they're big enough they can be seen, and the worm crawls along, and then it eventually plants itself and becomes like a triphid spore, like from a horror movie. It becomes like this plant kind of thing that grows tall and then shoots spores out, which of course are the individuals again. So this is an experimentation of communal life form with independent cells becoming a communal animal. But of course they're not specialized. You don't have the interior
Right.
ones that only do digestion and that sort of thing.
And if you look inside of a
So
sponge, it's exactly like Arn was saying. It's just a bunch of little flagellates um, spinning together, helping the organism digest. You know, there you go. You can go ahead, Cyrus.
can we, I just remember, like, this was a question I had when you mentioned it, and it like left and then it came back. Can we, like, do we know when the endosymbiosis of like mitochondria happened? Like, can we track that back in some way, or do we just know it happened sometime, but we don't know when?
I don't know how we would track that other than using phylogeny, because we know that the
Right.
plant cells have mitochondria as well as chloroplasts. So and of course all animals have mitochondria. So we know that the mitochondrial ingestion had to happen first. And this would have been when they were all unicellular. And so to be a animal, there's no such thing as a single-celled animal, despite what the dictionary might tell you. Uh, Animals are multicellular by definition. Plants, however, can be single-celled. And so, since they were the second one to go, that we know that the ancestors of animals were in this holozoan microbial state before they get to that point. And this is the part where great scientists like Kent Hovind would say that you believe that an elephant and a pine tree are related. Yes. It's way, way back when.
I do have more questions. I can keep asking if you guys need time, like, eat time for new callers to come in.
Well, let
So
me check call in
I can keep
studio,
asking.
and I don't have anybody lined up again, but let me remind everybody that we do have, we've got the link in the description. So you can hit us from anywhere in the world. And then if you are in the United States, you can use the number provided. That is 720-619-2288. And all over social media, people tell me all the time that they want to debate me, that they would just own me, they just get the opportunity. Okay, here I am.
You can own your very own Arn Ra for the low, low price of a phone call.
Exactly. How easy is that? All right. So, Cyrus, what is your other question?
So this is less to do with biology and more to do with debates, which you guys have a lot more experience than me, probably more than I have life. Uh, that's not meant to be an insult, by the way. Uh, why do so many creationists of every flavor, not just Christians, uh, ignore science? Like, I honestly feel like it's ignoring, because a lot of them don't even understand the basics, not the foundation, just the very basics of the concepts they use against science. And it just feels, is it just ignorance, or is it like some form of bias?
Yeah, well, it is ignorance, but let's look at what that word means. They are ignoring
Right.
what they don't want to accept. So there's a handful of people that actually have legitimate degrees. Now you've got people like Stephen Meyer and Jonathan Wells, who were already creationist dipshits before they ever went to school, and they went to school specifically to get the degree so that they could pretend to have authority when they argue against what they call Darwinism. You got that lot. But then you've got the others like Kurt Wise and Andrew Snelling and a couple others who went to the best schools. They actually have legitimate degrees and worked in science. Andrew Snelling was an actual geologist. He personally dated the Kungura Basin at in the billions of years in Australia. And of course, you write out this paper he published in peer reviewed as a real geologist, and so he gives all the specifics for how he dated these, and he jots out all the science just as properly as you would ever expect him to do. Then, at the same time that he's doing that, he was writing bullshit articles to the organization that would become Answers in Genesis, wherein he blamed all fossils on the flood. So here is a man who knows that he is full of shit. He knows that when he does the science right. He shows his math. We can all check it. He got that right. And then he does this other flippant crap. These people I don't know what the emotional attachment is. They want to pretend something that they know is not true. And for the few that I've talked to, well, I mean, I've talked to an awful lot of them, but there are a few of them who have admitted to me that they believe what they know is not really true. Or if they knew it was not really true, they would still believe it anyway. I got an admission like that just in the last 2 weeks. That you prove me wrong, I'm still going to believe, that kind of thing. And then we have people like that. There was this one documentary, Darwin's Doubt. I think it was Darwin's Doubt, but it was a documentary TV show. But and somebody there, some minister there, said that if they were to read in the Bible that 2 + 2 = 5, they wouldn't question what they read in the Bible because it's in the Bible. They would believe it and try to understand it, but not question it. And then just to let you know that this isn't a new thing. William Jennings Bryan, who was like the prosecuting attorney in the Scopes monkey trial, he also ran for president once upon a time 100 years ago, almost exactly 100 years ago. He said that if the Bible said that Jonah swallowed the whale, I would believe it. So these are people who are determined to believe what they know is not true because it makes them feel special somehow. And this is entirely for emotional reasons. There is no logical defense for this belief system whatsoever. And one of the ways to prove that, I've been offering for a quarter of a century now, I've been offering a challenge to prove evolution to your satisfaction. Easy to do. When creationists want to prove God to me, they want to inundate me and barrage me and pummel me with all of this crap, all of the cut and paste copy pasta that they're going to throw at me for days on end until they think that they're going to wear me down. I have the opposite approach. I'm going to do a Socratic interaction with you. I ask you 2 or 3 questions. You ask me 2 or 3 questions. We answer each other's questions, and then we continue to the next mutual exchange. Within 24 mutual exchanges, you will be a proud evolutionist for the rest of your life, though you will never use that silly word, and you will be embarrassed that you were ever a creationist. However, on almost every, there's only been one exception, every other one, they run by the first round. Usually most of them fail with a faceplant on the very first round. Once they know, because I've had 2 or 3 of them get to the second or third round, kind of fudging it. But once they know that I'm really capable of doing this, they flee. And most of the time, just making the challenge is like turning on the kitchen light and seeing all the cockroaches flurry. That's what it is to make the challenge. I can prove evolution, even to your satisfaction. Let's talk. No, they run. One guy told me when I just got started in this kind of activism, he was bragging about how objective he is. And then when I said, well, let's use reason to approach this belief system of yours. And then he right away, he replied that he would rather take a bullet in the ear than to question his faith. And I said, well, so much for your objectivity.
I think people have been inculcated from birth to I'm getting distracted by the glasses questions. Anyways, in the comments, people are inculcated from birth and by the Bible and by their authorities that they listen to not question the Bible. It's like rinse, repeat. Like he's saying with the person who said they would rather take a bullet in the ear than question the Bible. And I don't know if that has to do with how much people are inculcated that they're going to go to hell if they question anything, and they want to go to heaven and don't want to go to hell. It's a really scary, vivid stick for the carrot and the stick. And heaven is this ridiculous, sing-songy, happy, clappy place that nobody knows where it is. You travel into space. Where's heaven? Don't see it. Like the Russian cosmonaut did. and expecting maybe at least to see Mount Olympus there and the Greek gods, or whatever, and it's not there. And I'm not saying that that's a really literal version. That maybe there's a god that we can't detect. That would be one thing, but the way the Bible portrays it is definitely not not physically possible in this universe. And people are afraid to question it, not just because of hell, but because they don't want to lose their family, they don't want to lose their community, sometimes they don't want to lose their job, and it's the only life that they know. And we're struggling against that right now politically.
Yeah,
All the
I was
evangelicals
lucky in
partnering
that.
with the Antichrist. I'm sorry, Cyrus.
I
What were
was
you saying?
lucky. I said I was lucky in that sense. My family is very religious. I'm from Romania. They're very strong Orthodox Christians, but I was never raised into it. I was raised around it, but not ever. It was never put onto me. My family was like, if I'm gonna accept it on my own will, I will, and if I won't, I won't. So even when now I am a pretty staunch atheist, I'd say I don't see a purpose in a religion for me. Um, they don't care. They're just like that. That's your choice. And the other thing with religious folk, and it's these talking points that you can. Their arguments. I don't know if they're like cyclical in nature, but it's always the same thing. You prove that objectives don't have to be that morals don't have to be objective, and then they move to the next thing, and it's just that infinite goalpost moving. So almost to what you guys were saying
yeah.
before you brought up, which is that there's no point in having these conversations on the internet anymore because people are just moving the goalpost, and regardless of how many times you show evidence, you show different perspectives on these things, they'll never just accept that either they're wrong or there's just another option.
Yeah, what happens with a lot of these people is they do this, what it's not necessarily a whataboutism, but it is a deflection. They're not going to have accountability at all. You can prove that they're wrong about this thing. Well, what about this? And what about this other? And they want to still count the thing that they lobbed at you before. Here's another one. Here's another way that you're wrong. No, no, I can't be wrong.
Host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call.
I don't know if everybody can hear me, but I am trying to fix it.
Okay.
Okay, we're recording again.
Hooray!
And then I'm gone again.
At least I can
Check
see
your
you guys
camera.
moving and talking now.
Just like Rory Calhoun.
Yeah. All right.
Cyrus, you still there?
Uh,
Okay, Cyrus, I have you back now. Go ahead and say what you just said.
Aaron, I did hear what you were saying about it being like a whataboutism, and that's
Yeah.
the last thing I heard.
Yeah, they will change the topic. They will, as you say, move the goalpost, but what they're more interested in when they know that they can't defend the first thing that they said, they have all these other things. And they don't understand any of these arguments. They've copied them from somebody else. They don't even know what they're saying, the meanings of the words they're using. They're just going to lob these arguments at you, not having any idea what they mean. They're not there to be reasoned with. They are there to reaffirm their belief in literal make-believe.
The number of times I've watched a line show and somebody calls in and says, yeah, what about physics? I'm like, really? Are you going to question physics?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know even what you're talking about? Yeah, physics. And that's their argument. Like, physics how? Tell me how. And they can't tell you how. And they don't realize because they get fed these arguments from popular creationists like Frank Turek. I mean, I'm too whatever to be an atheist. What was his book?
I don't have enough faith to be an atheist.
An atheist, yeah. And like, so we even sat through one of his live lectures, and I talked to him afterwards in person, and one of his arguments that there's a God is that it isn't physics, although there's that one, is that love exists and morality exists, and
well, therefore evolution.
Yeah, and I told him my dog has never read a Bible. One of the most loving creatures. And sometimes he doesn't even need to be loving. He just is. So, what do you think about that? And you could tell his eyes glazed over, and he went glassy-eyed, and he went somewhere else in his mind. Like not listening.
The game is make-believe. Pretend, the power of pretend. If you can convince yourself that this thing is true, then it doesn't matter if it's not true because you believe it so strongly that you think it is true. And one of the things that people will do to this is they will put themselves into a forced commitment situation. When Harold Camping said that the world was going to end on May 21st, 2011, a whole lot of his people in his congregations, one guy spent $100 and some odd $1,000 on billboards advertising the end of the world. He spent his entire savings. And then when it didn't happen, there's a beautiful picture of him checking his watch, confused, in the middle of a crowd of people laughing at him, as he's now completely impoverished in his mid-60s.
That's what the Bible verses tell people to do, to take that pearl of great price and bury it in a field. That's your faith. And then no robber can get it. So take all your money, give it to me and for Jesus, and you'll have you're storing that in the storehouses in heaven. Like in this imaginary place where I never have to pay it out. Give it to me now, and it'll go to heaven, some kind of transfer to heaven, and you'll get it then, and even more than you have now, but you have to die before you find out. So,
and you have to believe completely with absolute conviction. So these people will put themselves into compromising situations such that if they're wrong, they're doomed, so that they absolutely have to believe. And one of Harold Camping's followers used a box cutter to slit the throat of her 3 daughters in order to save them from Satan. Then, when the time came and the world didn't end, Harold Camping was accosted on this fact, wherein he said, well, yeah, the world did end, actually. Just nobody noticed because it ended spiritually.
Yeah.
And it was also
nobody noticed because there is no spirit.
Something else that was noticed was that somebody had taken a picture the week before of his ledger where he was still scheduling appointments for donors and such. for the week after the end of the world. So he knows. He knows he's full of shit.
It's sad. And people
Yeah,
like the man
some of
you're
the
talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
All
some
right,
of
I'm
the things
seeing chat
Christians
messages.
do
I'm seeing chat
simply to
messages to
enforce their
the effect
belief.
that we're paused.
Are we paused? Can you hear us, chat?
I mean, I'm watching out later.
Okay,
You guys are running fine.
very good.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Cyrus.
But the things Christians do and say in what they would see as honoring the Bible or God or whatever is genuinely scary to me. I mean, I've never heard anyone what you mentioned, killing their children over it. But I was
Yep.
in a Discord server with some Christians, and I was talking to them about morals, because that's actually how I remember to ask you guys this question. And I asked them, well, what about morals when you see them in animals? And they said, well, that's different. That's biological. That's whatever. The animals don't have souls. I asked them, well, then does that mean that animals don't have value? And then they said no. So I said, well, in your Christian framework, does that mean you can go around killing animals? And they said yes. And I was just thinking, without purpose, why? And
Yeah,
like,
that,
I
my dad
understand that
believed that.
still leaves.
My dad believed that. He tortured animals for fun. And he told me that it's just a dumb animal. It don't feel nothing.
Scary.
Then you have the people on the other side, like we were talking about the bundles of bullies, and they're trying to rationalize. She lost her dogs, so they're all telling her that her dogs are looking down on her from heaven, and they'll come back to her, and they're angels now. So some Christians believe that there's no animals in heaven, and we do with animals whatever because God gave us command over them. And some Christians are like, no, there's a rainbow bridge, and I will see Fluffy again. And as an atheist, that's one thing that I regret, that I'll never see some of my loved animal friends ever again. But that just makes the time that I spend with them right now more precious, because I don't think there's a do-over.
Somebody in the chat just mentioned
Yeah.
Andrea Yates. I was trying to remember Andrea Yates's name. She was so religiously whacked out that she also murdered all 5 of her children in order to save them from Satan. So she had children from like 4 to 7 or something like that, and they all have biblical names. Noah and Mary and a couple of gospel names, Matthew and Mark and that kind of thing. And she drowned them all systematically in the bathtub. And then she picked up their dead body and put them on the bed, and then she would go chase down the next child. So the husband comes home to find out that his wife has just murdered all of their children. He demonstrates in the interview, the live interview, he demonstrates no remorse, no feeling. He's not distraught or anything, because he thinks Satan is real, and he thinks heaven is real. And it's really sad for me how people can live in such an absolute delusion where insanity becomes sanity.
I think that's part of the problem. People use Christianity, and a lot of psychology and counseling is like infiltrated with Christians who think it's their mission to tell them that God is doing something in their life or whatever. And the part of the problem was, maybe they thought that they were helping Andrea Yates by talking to her about God, and her Christianity would help her overcome her mental illness. And that's in the way of legitimate therapy and medication to help this woman. You just can't faith your way out of mental illness. And the same thing, if somebody dies with grief, in a way, it makes people feel better to think they might see their loved ones again. But in another way, it shorts the working through the whole grief process, because you think, well, I'll see them again. They're looking at me right now, or something like that. And you just have to deal with it. and go through the stages of grief with, sometimes real legitimate therapy and medication are a better answer than saying that people things that they want to believe and what they want to hear. What's the saying that I would rather accept a really harsh reality than believe a delusion?
A beautiful lie. Yeah,
Yeah.
an ugly truth. Yeah.
Yes.
I
So,
Yes.
find the moral framework of Christianity to be problematic at the very least, and in some way almost,
I find the
because
moral
it's like,
framework of Christianity to be a complete illusion.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying that in the sense of like killing animals, killing your children, perfectly justifiable. Being gay, no, no, no. Being trans, it's
Yeah.
what?
So, Cyrus, we have somebody else. We don't have a theist on the line, but we do have somebody else that's been on waiting for us for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and take that call and thank you for yours. Okay.
Thank you, Cyrus.
You two have a good one. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. All right. So I'm going to try to drop that call and pick up. Let's see if this thing is going to work. Pick up Han in Europe. Han, are you there?
Oh, yeah.
Am I saying the name right?
Yeah, you did. So this is my first time, so I'm kind of, still don't understand how this works. So do I just say my question or?
Okay, sure, please.
Yeah, so I was thinking about evolution when I was doing my project in physics, something about the universe, and then I noticed that how the information and memories and communication between in the biology could also be similar in other fields of science. For example, in computer science, we have like this also information, memory, and communication. In physics, in some way, you can also see this form. For example, if the gravity would be behaving differently on larger scales, like let's say the galaxies, which this new theory is doing now, which would explain some phenomena. Long story short, I was thinking, what if that's why I'm agnostic, because what if the universe is just like one entity, but not like God or anything like this, but like entity where we are just part of it, and we don't yet understand that. How to explain? It's not the purpose, like it's nothing religious, but like a goal in a sense where everything goes. For example, let's say neurons, right? When they are just cells, like when somebody is growing, like the brain, you have these baby neurons, right? And then how do they know that they have to form the organism that later becomes the brain and then becomes like the consciousness in a way, right? So that would mean that every cell, in a sense, understands the world in some way, right? But doesn't understand it from different, like a larger perspective.
So,
I hope I
so you're asking me,
explain this correctly.
all right, so you're asking me, how does yeast know that it's supposed to rise? How do ice cubes know that they're supposed to melt?
No, I wanted to say like, how would the molecules of the cells, for example, know what to form?
What was your career again?
So I actually did the computer science, but now I'm doing like
Computer science.
physics
Okay, so
and
Okay.
not
yeah.
chemical science.
Now you said this. Let's start here. You said how would molecules know how to form? Because you gave us several examples. Let's start at the very basic one there. Your background is in computer science, and
Yeah,
molecules form from chemical reactions. This is very well understood. It's not because they know.
Yeah, how does oxygen know that it's supposed to form covalent bonds with two hydrogens? Who
No,
taught
I
oxygen how to do that?
understand. Yeah, that's the problem. I explained this wrongly because English is not my native language, so um, I didn't mean this because I understand in chemistry that we have this electronegativity, like fluoride is going to, of course, react more than the helium, and that's okay. But what I wanted to say is like this deeper like meaning, like why the universe goes in this one way. Like the electricity will always go in the less resistant way, right? And like it seems like that whole universe wants to go somewhere, like in this one particular way. That's what I wanted to say. Same how we want to become something more advanced in a way, like the evolution. The whole point of evolution, I thought that maybe it's just like connecting the whole universe at some point. Because if what I want to say, if the life started on Earth and in the whole universe that there is always this one way, that means that there is a lot of life starting in many places probably, and
Okay, Zan,
it is
we,
similar
you're
how the neurons start.
Zan, because you're giving us a bunch of examples and it would be hard to address all of them and adequately address your question. So what I'm hearing from you saying, and you can confirm for me this, why is the universe set up in this one way that it works? Like all the examples you cited, like electricity, why is the universe set up in this way that it works this one way? Is that what you're saying? Is that your argument?
Yeah.
Okay, with that, can I ask you a question? How do you know that let's just say there aren't other ways, all right. How do you know that this is the only universe?
So that's what I meant. Like this universe would work like the cells of one organ, right? But if you would have another organ that's also part of this like organism, but in like the multi-universe ways, they would work in different ways, but they would still be connected in a way, like sharing the communications and information between each other.
But we wouldn't know if
scale.
in another universe if they worked a different way. It's possible, but we don't know because we haven't observed that, and it's very difficult for us to observe with our tools. But like maybe, just maybe, that our universe works, and because there were like we're talking about with the multiverse, and there were universes that didn't work. Like how many of them didn't work? Do you know? So like ours is working. I mean, it's like the Goldilocks zone. Why is the Earth right in the Goldilocks zone for life? Look at all the other solar systems that also have rocky planets. I mean, how many of them are not in the Goldilocks zone? So like how do you know we're this is the only possibility and that there aren't others that aren't working out there?
And how do we know that there are other planets that don't still have life, even though they're not in the Goldilocks zone?
Yeah,
but
there's that.
Do you understand? I meant like just like imagine when you have the embryo, right, and then it's growing like a human. Like then the stem cell creates the neuron, right? It becomes a neuron, and then we have this first phase of neurons. They have to connect, right? But I was thinking, what if we are in this early phase where we are part of like on electron and the galaxies is like the cells, and then like throughout evolution we all become like connected with other galaxies, and then these all galaxies are like the brain because this memory communication and information reminds me of a brain, right? If we would be similar to a heart, it would be much a different laws and everything, but in a way like it seems to me that everything is repeating in different scale. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I would like to interject something here. when you were talking about the chemical side of your argument, I was thinking that if you had studied chemistry or biochemistry for science majors, then you wouldn't be making these arguments because you mentioned the neurons, for example. And if you knew how the neurons interact with ATP to fire and all of this, you wouldn't be making this argument. And if you were talking about how the cosmos is somehow part of some uber consciousness or whatever, one of the things that doesn't work with that is when you notice that so many of the planets in our solar system, just in our one solar system, have tilted orbits or reversed orbits or sideways orbits, and some of them are captured, and some of them are there are planets out there that are rogue. There's I saw a nice time lapse photo. It spanned over 8 years that showed how stars move in relation to each other over an 8-year period. And when you see all of it, it looks like the universe is not the clockwork symmetry or the clockwork precision that believers like to. No, it's boiling chaos. It's boiling very slowly, but it's boiling. It is chaos. There's shit crashing into each other all the time. And everything, fortunately, is way far away from everything else. So far away that we can't get to the nearest thing. So we're stuck on this rock until another rock comes and kills it. And then there's nothing we can do to get off this rock or to save ourselves when that happens.
Also, Zan, there's something I want you to think about. You're applying like brain chemistry to the larger universe. Human beings are naturally wired to find patterns and to see patterns. Like when people see a face in the clouds, that looks like a human face, or a man in the moon. It's called pareidolia. How do you know that your line of thinking is influenced by this pattern seeking behavior that you see? It's not a it's not a it's kind of like anthropomorphism. You're taking your experience and applying it to something where maybe it doesn't map exactly onto the universe. Universe is a wild and woolly place we barely understand. Maybe in some ways you could see similarities to how our neurons work in the way the laws of physics or whatever. But then, like, it won't totally map on there. It's bigger. I mean, it's good to try to comprehend it.
Maybe you are right. I was just asking you because of this, so that I see what you think. It was just informative. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. So that's why I'm just asking you to see what you think on. Because
Well,
you seem
good
like
for you.
you know stuff. That's why.
That you
Yeah.
that you realize that you may be wrong. I might be wrong, and that's the first step to being right is knowing when you might be wrong about something. Like people with religion and are not allowed to be wrong, and it's a
Yeah,
good thing to
I'm
be wrong.
like I'm trying to maybe do some experiments with plants mostly because I'm thinking that plants probably have some form of consciousness even without the neurons. Like that's what I want to try to show in some way. And if that would be true, then I could explain my theory much better in some way.
There are people that are studying some kind of plant consciousness, but then again, we could still be applying our own anthropocentric view to the way the plants might be communicating. Like, I don't think all plants can communicate, but there's some evidence that trees through their network system can, with the help of a type of fungus, can let another tree know that there's a perhaps a beetle or something that's destroying or whatever, and they can share resources like there are groves that are really communal organisms. But I would hate to misapply what we know about the way we communicate to plants, because then we might miss exactly how they are communicating. And even the word communicating might be problematic in understanding what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. I will not be annoying anymore. Thank you for answering.
You're not being annoying. Keep asking questions.
Yep. Thank you
Like
for that. You've
you
I was
also
can.
just
stuck a
curious
song in
about
my head.
Oh, okay. Here, a song.
Yeah, he stuck a song because now I've got Johnny Rotten. You know, I could be wrong, I could be right, I could be black, I could be white. That song.
Yes. And look at heliotropism. How do plants know to face the sun? We're using the word know. Maybe they don't know. Maybe it's just stimulus response. You know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I was just curious of what you think of that's all. Like,
Yeah, I've listened and I entertained an awful lot of this when I was a kid, when I thought there was a connection and I was trying to understand what that connection was. I just don't see it anymore. We are so far removed from anything that we're just screaming into the void with all of our radio telescopes and all of that. And I'm sure there are other ears and minds out there somewhere, but if they have technology advanced enough to hear us, they are way too far away.
but do you think that maybe we are at the beginning of, you know, start start point of
Nope.
everything?
Nope. We are way late.
Like
But
we are the
not everybody
the
develops
last one.
technology, right?
Well, I don't know anymore what to think.
Yeah, if there was a
Yeah,
God behind our predicament,
because we are either first or last. Like that's how it looks like. Like
look at it on the earth, right? You have islands, and it is possible for, and it's happened an awful lot, where an animal will, say a snake, right? Reticulated pythons from the mainland of Thailand. They crawl out into the ocean for whatever reason, and they swim many, many miles out to sea, and they end up on an island. And so now you have reticulated pythons all over these islands, all around Southeast Asia. They swam there. Right. So there's a way that you can, and lots of other animals do this too. Monkeys have rafted over or swum to new islands. You know, lots of islands end up inhabited in this way. We don't have that option when we're talking about space. The nearest planet to us that might be able to harbor life would we would evolve into something different by the time we got there. And if we didn't, that planet would certainly turn us into something else different than what we started out as, if we could ever make it there at all, because it would be so much different than the way things are here. The most Earth-like planet right now is like 5 times bigger than the Earth. So people of our size, frankly, would not be able to live. You would have elephants, animals with the build of elephants or rhinos that would be the size of Pekingese and Pomeranians because of the excessive gravity. And that's just that one aspect. I mean, the chemical constituencies are something else entirely. There and the distances are phenomenal. There's no way that an animal, like in the case of the snake that I just mentioned, an animal can just go out and or be blown off course in a storm, right? Be flooded out in a tsunami, and then eventually find themselves on a new island, and they can just live there from now on. But there's no way to get to another planet without cutting edge technology and an awful lot of patience. If we don't have cryogenic means, then we would have to have generations aboard massive transports. For what? To get to another world that is nothing like this one? So, and then there's nothing we can do for this one. As I said, if a rogue world, because there are those, there are planets out there that don't orbit a sun. There are whole planets wandering loose out there. They don't have to hit us to ruin us. They could take us off our course ever so slightly. So with all of this, it's hard for me to imagine anybody saying there's a plan. Fuck no. Just
It
blind,
is.
pitiless indifference.
It is what it is, and it's hard not to barrel into existentialism. What does it all mean? And we're trying so hard to impose meaning on a universe that screaming into the void. We're trying to impose meaning on it, and instead we need to understand what it's doing better. And it's so hard because our senses are so limited, and that's how you deal with. For me, there's this really cute YouTube channel called something explained by ducks. I forget. And they took on the topic of existentialism, and just think about it this way: when the universe gets really intimidating and you can't really understand it, and what's the point, right? You're just here. You're a duck, and have to have the perspective, flap your wings, and do make of your life what you can with what you have. I mean, the perspective that we should be able to move the universe or understand the universe, it's too vast. And maybe sometimes we'll get better at it, but just, do what you can with whatever limited tools we have.
This was beautifully illustrated in Toy Story, the original movie Toy Story. The only time I could ever understand what it is that the creationists, the diehard religion, the people who need to believe in their religion, the only time I could ever relate to what they were arguing about is looking at uh, what was the superhero that had the wings that popped out? Buzz Lightyear. When Buzz Lightyear finds out that he's not Buzz Lightyear, that he is in fact a toy. So when you find out that you're not God's seed, that you're not angel dust, when you find out you're a monkey, that's Buzz Lightyear. The existential episode that he went through. And then he eventually got to where a lot of us end up with, and where I'm at now. We eventually get to the thing about eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we may die.
There's truth in that too. In getting the most out of whatever you can with whatever you have. Because what
Somebody
else can
pointed
you
out,
do?
oh, I'm sorry, that was you that pointed out the channel is Diploma Duck. Sorry.
It is Diploma Duck. It's amazing how they can like break down something so complex as existentialism with ducks and really like simple graphics and stuff.
I love the comment. Has Aron ever seen a bird give birth to a duck?
Arn would say that ducks are birds.
Yeah,
Of
and
course.
Jesse Lee Peterson would would have a different argument. All right, so I'm going to check one more time. Remember, we haven't had a single theist call us. I know y'all got the number. So I'm gonna and it's funny. I've been on with Forrest. I've been on with Erica, and I know why nobody's going to call and argue evolution on those shows. But then I had Lawrence on a couple of times, and Lawrence Yufa, and nobody's going to call in and preach Bible shit to me when he's on. But this is surprising. I've got not one theist caller. And could that be because I have a deconverted Christian on of my wife's caliber? She was an old earth creationist. She is the one exception that went through that challenge to prove evolution to your satisfaction. She is the one that actually took the challenge and went to the end, although she was not a creationist by the time she got there.
Because the truth matters to me. And we're speaking to anybody out there who the truth matters to you. And I know some people think they've found the truth in Christianity, or or theism in general. And I'm going to say that it's probably not the truth. Most likely not the truth.
So if you think you've got the truth and we don't, call in that number. Look at the description. Get the web link. It's probably faster. But call us up. Tell us about it. 720-619-2288. Don't let this be the first time that I've been on SkepTalk when I haven't had a single theist call in. Oh, and my wife is a political activist. So if you can't find any theists and you want to call and talk about politics, this is not a good night for you. So, not with her on board.
Maybe if all 500 people watching all click the like button at the same time, it'll be like Goku's spirit bomb and we will summon a theist caller.
Yeah. What a strange situation that we're living in right now. It's on the way that I was raised, everything that this country was said to be, everything that I thought, the way and the direction that I thought we were going, where things are getting better all the time and we're learning more all the time and things are becoming more and more efficient and, better gas mileage or more capacity, whatever, it doesn't break down, all of these things. No, we just decided to throw that out somehow. I'm very confused as to all the things that they used to brag about our country. America don't negotiate with terrorists until we did. We don't torture prisoners until we did.
We've always done. If you
Yeah.
think about it this way, in some ways we know more about what goes on than we used to, but then there's a lot of like signal to noise distortion where people are thinking things that are happening are not happening, people are stopping vaccinating their kids, for example, because of all this really bad information that's getting out there. And now we have more measles than we ever did. People are rejecting reality and substituting their own
Well,
via
I am
these
properly
discussions.
impressed by you, my dear, because you have scared all the theists away.
I'm so scary.
So I'm checking call studio. Looks like we might have no. Look, we had somebody, I think, for a moment, and then they dropped. Nope.
Oh,
Wait.
I scared.
We have a theist.
Oh, hello, theist.
Yes. So let me see if I can. Is
Stephanie's
this one
screening.
ready? They're screening. They're still
Oh.
screening. Okay.
Let's be nice to her.
I'm
Or
going to
him.
be
Or
nice.
them.
I try to help. I try to help them.
Yes.
And yes, I'm salivating a little bit, but
Oh,
I'm still
no.
going to help.
Oh, no.
I'm going to help them to death.
I'm trying to like transfer some patience to you right now.
I'm going to help them like our dog helps the ball.
Yeah. Our dog helps the ball. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, that screen didn't work. That they didn't get through.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened. We got a couple of terminated calls. We don't got no. Yeah, we were very. I was hopeful. I don't know how they got screened out. I guess there's an awful lot of insincerity. People, disingenuous people pretending to be other things. People pretending to hold positions they don't hold, just for the sake of arguing.
They're catfishing us.
Yeah, evidently. Evidently.
I'm a hip happening theist.
Well,
Not
we're
really.
just going to have to talk about politics since you're
Okay.
on, and we don't have any callers.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet we could do that. I have friends, old friends, who've been sending me memes celebrating that Donald Trump took out a leader of a sovereign nation. I am fully aware that previous presidents have done the same. I am fully aware that it was never justified in any of those cases. But I think especially now when Trump simultaneously, I can't trust the news anymore. Even the left wing news, I can't trust anymore. Certainly can't trust the right wing news, but often I can't even trust the left. I don't know because there's so much sensationalism in the headlines now that I have to. When I see something, I would bet that if I go on Google and search for this, I'm not going to find it, and very often I don't. So
Even coming from positions that we would agree with.
yeah,
A lot like MAGA, of course, puts a lot of invalid claims out there, of course. And so it's almost on purpose, like Steve Bannon calls it flooding the zone, so that you start to question you don't know what's real and what's not. I sound like Amy Lee now. I don't know what's real and what's not. But anyways,
I
but
had to Google to see that the United Nations gathered to condemn in an emergency meeting, gathered to condemn our president. Our allies and our enemies agree with each other that we are not their friend.
and you see, and like MAGA will cheer at this because they it feels like they're winning to them, but they're losing. We're losing some of our best markets, and like I've heard one of the bourbon companies went out of business, like one everybody's heard of, because for some reason now Canada's an enemy. Like, what does Canada ever do to us? You know, and then they stop buying our bourbon.
England
And
won't share secrets with us anymore. There's a whole lot of business that Europe will not do with us anymore. It does seem that Trump wants China to take over all of Asia, Russia to take over all of Europe, and for him to take over North and South America.
it's like an abusive partner who wants to isolate you from all your friends
It is a
and
lot
get you
like that.
to stop communicating with all our allies and stop cooperating with all our allies. And then he controls everything.
And isn't it frustrating that nobody in Congress will stand up to this asshole?
I've heard that Marjorie Taylor Greene says they're all afraid of him. And I get why they would be afraid of him,
Yeah.
but like, because like people like he's sued people into oblivion, and he's got a lot of political power now. So it's totally worse what he could do now. But like, they're the only ones that can help us.
All right.
And
We have somebody who wants to talk politics with you, my dear.
oh my gosh.
Yep.
Hooray.
So I'm going to bring in Maureen. Maureen, are you? Well, it hasn't shown up yet.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, very good. Very good. How do you do? What would you like to talk about?
Trumpy and MAGA. And I've been
All right,
calling him Trumpy since he first showed up. I think he's a joke, but a dangerous joke.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't call that a joke.
Yeah.
I agree
Not
with you in
funny.
spirit.
Not
Yeah.
really funny in the joke sense.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, and it's very serious up here what's happening. He's trying to ruin our economy. He's telling us we're not a country. I don't know if he will attack us.
You're not the 51st state?
No, sorry. I think Venezuela just became 51st state. And that's going to cost
I
a
hope
lot of
not.
money.
I know.
I thought at least the GOP would start looking at the money. I'm thinking this guy's going to end up spending on his own a couple of $1 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wants his own Soviet Union. I think he thinks he's like Putin and he has to be strong and he wants a Soviet Union type of thing. And he's going to start lining up countries. And he's trying
I
to
agree with you completely. Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Because Putin was president for a couple of terms because you only get 2 terms in a row, right? Now in the United States you only get 2 terms period, but in Russia you get 2 terms in a row. and then he became prime minister, and then he became president again and did another 2 terms in a row, wherein he rewrote the Constitution for the Russian Federation all by himself. He just changed it. Now, have you heard Trump bragging about how he can change the Constitution for the United States?
The saving grace from this is like people say, what would you do if you were living before Nazi Germany? Well, you're doing it now. But the saving grace from that, for the United States at least, is Trump is old and unhealthy.
But Trump is following a much of Putin's plan. What Putin did to become the dictator of Russia, Trump is doing the same. And it's as if Putin told him to do it.
I'm not sure. Like, I do get that Trump looks up to dictators like Putin and Kim Jong-un, but somebody who's a narcissist has to be like number one. So like ultimately that's why cooperative things like NATO, they stand together and they're more stable than the not the allies, the Axis powers were, because everybody wants to be number one in a dictator jerk type cooperative group. So I don't see them working together ultimately. Like I was thinking, why does he want Greenland? We're talking to somebody in Canada right now, and because there's like maybe 50,000 people there, and a lot of
Isn't it the
it's
minerals?
iced now. The minerals, yeah, and it's
yeah.
iced over still, but it's global warming. Maybe it'll start to get easier to extract. But
it's because I think Russia wants him to have it. I'm telling you, I think he's listening more to Russia, more to Putin. I don't think it's. I think Putin is like his mentor, kind of.
They've had a bunch of secret meetings, right?
Oh yeah, them and a bunch of GOP. And this goes way, way back to like 1980 something when he couldn't get loans from U.S. banks. And he went to Russia to save his.
It is pretty well known. It's pretty well known that Trump was not only working with the American mafia in New York, because in the 1970s it was impossible not to. If you were building buildings in New York, you had to work with the mafia, but he was also bailed out by the Russian mafia. This is pretty well established.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I don't.
If you've ever played Risk, Greenland has some strategic value, because we do have intercontinental ballistic missiles, but if one of our enemies like China or Russia could control Greenland, they could put nuclear warheads there, and it would be easier to reach us in the United States. People who live in Canada, but Europe, they're much closer and more present with the threat from Russia. So if Russia were to get a foothold in Alaska or Greenland, that would be strategically a good move for them. So like to say that he's cooperating with Putin, if he's a fool and he wants to give Greenland to Putin, we'll have nukes right at our back door.
Yeah, and that's.
But I think
Trump has threatened Panama because Panama does not allow Russian ships through. Trump has threatened Greenland because I forget what the special interest was that Trump had. I think it was the missile arrangement, because Greenland is owned by Denmark, right? So so Putin wants us to own. He wants Trump to own Greenland, and he wants Trump to own Panama, because then in effect Putin would own Greenland and Panama, since Putin owns Trump.
Trump would be a fool to hand either of those things to Russia.
Yeah, because Russia wants to be back on the world economic scene, and they want all sanctions removed. And I think he thinks this is how to do it, get Trumpy to do it for him, because he's trying to get him back into all the different organizations like the Is it the G7 or the
When the
G20? I
G8
don't know.
became the G7, when the G8
Yeah.
became the G7, you remember how Trump was lobbying for Putin then?
Oh yeah, yeah. But you know what? He's such a base character. He's all about his ego and money. It always comes down to money with him. So it
Yeah.
always comes down to what do you think you can get from, what can you give him, and then he'll go along with you. And it seems to always be money, unless you can give him a Nobel Peace Prize. For some reason, he's hooked up on
The
that.
FIFA Peace
But I think
Prize.
I think he
Yeah, because
screwed himself.
how do you get a
there.
Nobel Peace Prize? By invading other countries and threatening to invade other countries and sending missiles to assassinate your top generals in countries we're not even at war with. That's how you get a peace prize.
Well,
I know.
with this, Trump is vain. So maybe he wants Greenland because he said he could be the first president to add in a long time to add more territory to the United States, like colonialism, But he's also paranoid. So
Yeah.
I don't see him handing it to Putin for them to position nuclear weapons there that are easier to strike where he lives. Like
Yeah,
if it's the rest of us, he'll let us all blow up. But if it's him, that's another matter.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think he'll hand it to Russia. I just think he'll be in charge of it, and then Russia will say, well, that's nice.
Not knowingly.
Yeah.
He will hand it to Russia, but not knowingly.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't
So,
think
Maureen,
things through.
I hate to have to do this.
Oh,
but
no
I've got
problem.
3 other callers that suddenly lined up, and we're talking about something that is not the topic. We don't usually do politics on this show.
That's fine. That's fine. I saw an opportunity to call and talk to you guys, and I wanted to. But
And I appreciate
Hello
that
to
you did, 'cause
Canada.
we needed it.
I apologize for the rest of Americans that are MAGA.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, bye.
Most of us hate Trump.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the next caller now. All right. So let me see. Who am I going to pick up here? We can just go in order. We have Jeff in Louisiana. Jeff, can you hear us?
Hey, what's up? I can. Good to talk to y'all, and thanks for taking my call. So yeah, what I want to talk about is I grew up religious, and I believe evolution is true, but for some reason, it's hard for me to see humans as like animals and creatures, just like any other creatures. And I guess what I'm wondering is, have y'all gone through a similar phase and found it difficult to kind of overcome that like belief, I guess, that we're not just creatures and animals? And if so, like what kind of helped you out with that process?
Yeah.
Well,
This is going to be her topic.
I used to be a creationist, and I was arguing with Aron and other atheists and people who accepted evolution online. And something Aron told me, he said, you're like, I don't know, this is an old reference now, I guess, but do you remember Knight Rider?
No,
There was a
I was
talking
born
car.
in '87. I think it was a little before me.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there's a talking car in Knight Rider, and it had David Hasselhoff. Maybe you know him from the SpongeBob movie or something. I don't know. Anyways,
I'm not that young.
or Baywatch.
Now I know who he is.
Yeah, and anyways, he had a talking car, and Arn told me, you saying you're not an animal is like Kit the car saying I'm not a car. He can talk,
Right.
but he's a car.
There was an episode where it wasn't Kit, it was another talking car. There was a second talking car in that show, and that other talking car was trying to argue that it is not a car because cars can't talk like that car can. Well, you're still a GM Pontiac Trans Am. You're still a car. So you're one that can talk, but you're still all of those parent categories.
So the same
Right.
with
And, I
people.
mean,
You're not
Yeah.
the apes communicate as well. Other apes communicate as well. So
Mhm.
we don't talk because they lack the physical structure in their mouth to where uh you have the roof of your mouth, and it helps you to talk with your tongue and make noises that they can't.
The
And
difference is so slight you wouldn't believe it. Where other apes, the roof of their mouth is just kind of like flattened. With us, there's just this tiny crest at the top of the roof of
Mhm.
the mouth that we don't share with the other apes, and that tiny bit of difference is what allows us to articulate speech. That and
Mhm.
when we're born, we have the exact same oral configuration as all the other apes do, but the tongue moves backward, the larynx moves backward as we develop. So now we have this articulation capacity, but at the cost that we can now choke and die on our food, where the other
Mhm.
apes will not.
Yeah,
it's a slight
that
difference.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like it's just this fundamental like belief that I have that we're somehow different than other animals that I can't seem to overcome. And like maybe I just need to learn more about evolution. I think that's probably part of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just I just feel
Well,
like humans are fundamentally different than other animals.
what
But maybe
to help you
maybe
with
it's just a
this,
bias too because I'm human, you know.
to help
But
you with this, Jeff.
Let's explore that.
Wait a second. To help
Sure.
you with this, Jeff. Um, if we're fundamentally different from other animals, it's like we're nested with other great apes. Did you know that other great apes also have individual fingerprints?
hmm, I didn't know that.
So why would they have that trait just like we do? I mean, are we
Hmm.
copying apes or are we apes? And doesn't that make us animals, right? Name something here. This might help.
He said we were fundamentally different. Let's talk about the fundamentals.
Okay, name something you think is different in people that apes don't do. Also,
Um,
And we're talking about fundamentals again.
yeah, I mean, I know I'm wrong, but it's still a belief that I have. Probably something with emotions. Like I feel like humans get emotions. Like I know I have my emotions, but I haven't really watched apes. But I know, like I realize I haven't studied apes. Period. So like they probably have them. I just haven't examined it for myself through like video or just firsthand evidence. But yeah, I guess I'll go with emotions.
emotions. Did you know that
Mm.
apes grieve their dead?
Um,
That's an
no,
emotion,
I
right?
don't
Grief
think I
is an
did.
emotion.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's just like I was trained that humans are different than animals, and I haven't really investigated it too much. I know I've said that a few times, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like this world, like this paradigm shifting view that we might be the same as other animals.
I'm
Every
holding a
animal
cat
it has
right
their
now.
own, yeah. Every other animal has their own individual differences, but they have so many
Mhm.
commonalities. It's impossible to deny that humans are animals. But Aron is going to talk about a cat.
Yeah, and let me just say, I don't deny that humans aren't animals. I know we are, but it's just this belief that, like, I know it's contradictory. It's a belief that we are different, even though I know that we're not, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Do you have any pets?
I used to have a dog, not anymore. He passed away.
We are inundated with pets. My wife just picked up a couple of spiders. She has
Hmm.
some jumping spiders to add to the menagerie. I have my parrot. We have a couple of cats. We got a handful of dogs because she fosters dogs. We got a bunch of snakes. We got lizards. We have some inverts beyond the spiders, and I have emotional bonds with a lot of my animals. And I can see that they trust me, and in some cases that they, even with the snakes, I've got snakes who genuinely like me and who want to hang out with me. It's hard for me. I've never had the distinguishing feature that, or that thought that we were separate from. I'm not. She was raised creationist. I was not. I was never a creationist. I always knew that we were animals. Ecclesiastes 3:18-21, the Bible explicitly says so.
Interesting. I'll have to look that one up. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I
Name
appreciate
something
y'all's
you
time.
think
I think
that's extraordinary
okay.
that people do that animals don't.
Just I don't know. I know, or I think I know the soul doesn't exist. I don't know. This is difficult for me.
That is
but
correct. The soul does not exist.
yeah. No, I know. I don't know. Like, I want to accept that humans are animals, and I know it's true on some level, but it's just hard for me to believe and convince myself. And I don't know. I know you asked me, like, what was something fundamentally different. But that's the thing. Like, I know I can't come up with a good answer because I don't think there is one besides the one I just gave about the soul. But then it's like there's not really good evidence about a soul either.
Yep. And strong evidence against it as well. Somebody in the chat just asked if a snake can see us as anything other than too much food. Yes. I have a reticulated python who really genuinely likes me. He shows affection for me. He knows he's safe with me. We have a very good relationship. I love that snake.
Do y'all have any recommendations of how to let go of the soul belief?
Get some pets.
I have one, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I had difficulty with this too, and that was one of my arguments when I first started deconverting. So I'm not like saying this from a superior point of view to yours, but it's just like what Aron was saying about Kit the car, and I started to look at it, and then I went to the zoo, and it's I guess wrong that we're keeping apes in a zoo, but when you really look at it, I didn't ever really looked at it this way before. Like, yes, that we have our own distinct kind of differences, but all animals do. Like the cheetah's the fastest land animal, etc. But go there and look at other primates. How are people fundamentally different from them? And you can't really answer that question.
Yeah, I guess.
And I don't mean to rush you, but I was just looking at Call Studio. We have a theist in the queue.
Okay. Well, if y'all need to drop me, then I'm cool with that. I have enough to chew on for now. So
appreciate it very much.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good night.
All right, bye.
All right. So I'm sorry for the other two people who have been waiting so patiently, but I am going to prioritize this theist. And so we should be talking to Kevin from Croatia.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. So
what is it you wanted to talk about?
I want to know, are you aware of Medjugorje apparitions of Virgin Mary?
Well, I see the mention of Fatima here, and I'm fully aware of the hallucination that happened in Portugal. What was it, 1915, something like that, where only a very few people were able to see this astonishing apparition, and of the hundreds that were there, and nobody else saw anything. But then when they did this, they kind of do a vigil, or they do an annual thing where they pilgrims go to this one location where, for those who are not aware of the Fatima miracle, the sun dances around in the sky. Now, if the sun actually did dance around in the sky, you would not have to go to this place in Portugal to see it. You'd be able to see that no matter where on the planet you were, as long as you're on the side facing the sun. But people who bring video cameras, for whatever reason, none of the video cameras are able to record this apparition. It only happens for sincere believers. Isn't that strange?
Okay. Can I explain you what you have
I think
missed?
I already explained it, but you're welcome to. Go ahead.
What you have probably missed is that the third secret of Fatima was never disclosed in full by the Catholic Church, and it happens to be that in all of these apparitions we have an information that there is a second sun entering a solar system. So the dancing sun in Fatima was probably that second sun that will very soon be visible. And a few days in America, there was a people saying that they saw something like second sun. And there are more and more apparitions of this second sun appearing. But you also have Jesus Christ using this first sun in some events. Like, for example, in Philippines in 2013, you have a miracle of the sun that is recorded with a camera.
Okay.
Did you
Before
ever
you
saw
tell
that
more stories,
sun?
I need you to tell me, because I'm curious, where is this second sun located in our solar system?
Oh, it's everywhere.
Where?
It's everywhere. It's far beyond us. And information is that behind the second sun, there will be
That
this planet,
doesn't answer
ancient
anything.
Nibiru coming.
Okay, where is it? Are you saying it's behind our current sun? Or the sun that we see? I'm sorry.
Excuse me, it is pretty obvious I'm not an astronomer. I don't know where the second sun is, but sometimes it's appearing. And obviously,
You
it has
understand that the
some
Earth
kind of a
revolves
weird,
around the sun, right? Are you aware of
I
that?
don't know.
You don't know.
It
Okay.
seems that it doesn't, because there would be no second sun coming and going if that's
That's
the
right.
case.
Well,
That's
yeah.
right.
No, you're
There
almost
couldn't
got it.
be.
You're almost there. You're so close.
Yep.
Think just a little bit more, and you'll get there. I'm telling you. Like, so,
So I wanted to. Excuse
so
me.
you know,
You say what you want to say.
okay. I think you know it's impossible for there to be a second sun in our solar system that we have not detected, but sometimes people see every now and again. Like, there are solar systems with two suns, but ours is not one of them. We don't have a binary star system.
Oh,
And it's easy to know this.
Mary. Can I answer?
Okay.
Virgin Mary is saying in one message that there are planets that are far beyond our level of understanding.
Okay.
So
While I will agree that there are planets far beyond our level of understanding, the Virgin Mary never said that.
yes, she did. Only you don't know where. She said that.
Only
in
you
a
don't know where
message
either. And I'm going to ask you to tell me,
Yes,
and then I'll be able to verify it. And then when I go to verify it, I will verify that no, she didn't say that.
Okay, I will say. She said it on a few places. The first is apparitions of Virgin Mary in Anguera, in Brazil. Those are apparitions that are approved by the Catholic Church. Then there are apparitions of Virgin Mary in Emmitsburg, where she also stated that.
And what can I look up to see where the Virgin Mary talks about other planets? What documentation do we have for that?
Apparitions of Virgin Mary in Emmitsburg, but
Right.
in
But
Emmitsburg,
what documentation do we have for what the Virgin Mary allegedly said about other planets? Where can I read that?
I can find on Google, but if you
Right. I would like to go find it on
for
Google, but I need to have a clue on how to do that. So where can I find where the Virgin Mary spoke about other planets? Because I know she didn't.
you don't know because she did.
I do know.
In Angera.
I
You
do
don't
know.
because
I
otherwise
do
you
know.
will be knowing about. You don't know.
Otherwise, I am knowing. I am already knowing more about this than you. So
Okay.
do you remember the
You are
original
not.
miracle of Fatima? Do you remember what that was supposed to be? Do you remember?
What?
Do you remember the original Fatima miracle? Do you remember what that was supposed
What was supposed to be?
It was supposed to be thousands of people gathered together because these little kids said that there was a sign of a miracle, some saint or something. The Virgin Mary was going to show a huge miracle. Okay,
Yes.
so thousands of people show up in a field, right? And so they show up in a field waiting for a miracle, and the miracle that they report, which strangely only a very few of the thousands of people there could see it, but the few people who did see it saw the sun come down below the clouds. Do you see a problem with that story?
It was 70,000 people who saw it, not only very few.
Okay. It was not all those people saw it. I've seen the testimony for the people who were there who did not see the miracle. But the claim of the miracle was that the sun came down to the earth below the clouds. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How big is the sun?
Very big.
Way
sure
bigger than the earth? It's way bigger than the earth, isn't it?
Yes, but was it our
So you
sun,
understand
or was it the
that if the sun came down below the clouds, then we would be engulfed in 9,000 miles worth of fire before it got that low. Right?
Very soon we will be, if we are not repentant.
I'm not talking about soon we will be. I'm talking about back when that happened. If the sun, which is 93 million miles away, suddenly accelerated at 93 million miles a minute, because that's what it would have to do, then by the time it got half the distance to the earth, we would already all be dead. All of us. It hasn't gotten below the clouds. It hasn't gotten anywhere near our planet yet.
It wouldn't even be fire. Just the gravity and the tidal forces of the sun would rip us apart.
No, it wouldn't, because that is like saying if Moses goes to the sea, they would all drown. But if God is behind it, they will not drown. We don't know how this passage through the Red Sea looked like, but nobody drowned. Same thing is with the sun. Nobody is burned if God is behind it. It doesn't matter how close the sun comes. So what I wanted to say to you is this. If you have heard
I just want to clarify. Do you know how high the clouds are? What are the highest clouds? The highest ones?
Yeah,
the stratus clouds, if you like.
We will obviously, Mr. Aron, we will
they were
not
like
agree
6
on
miles.
This, okay?
From the ground,
I believe that
the highest clouds.
If God used
would that be about 6 miles?
If God used it as a miracle, it really
if a
matter.
magic invisible man who doesn't exist did magic that doesn't exist,
let's stop
then
there.
nothing.
Let's stop there. You're saying if God wanted to use the miracle that it wouldn't matter that the sun couldn't come that close because God did it. Is this what your argument is?
Yes, of course.
Is this what you're telling us?
That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. 70,000 people witnessed sun coming to the earth, and nobody was burned. Exactly.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? And two, how do you know the difference between a mass hallucination and the sun actually dipping down dangerously close to the earth, and God somehow magicking those effects away? How do you know the difference? How can you explain to us that it wasn't a hallucination?
Listen to me. I would like to escape from this question because we will be stuck into obvious belief and disbelief which we all have based on our personal experiences. But
No, we don't.
I wanted to point.
That's what
I
you're
wanted to
doing. I'm not
point
going to
out.
let you escape the question. You're talking about your own personal experiences and asking us to accept them. And what we're asking you to do, if we're going to accept what you believe, is to prove that this actually happened and wasn't a mass hallucination.
Okay, so from
I
the
can
ground,
feel-
from
I
the
wanted
ground to the tallest clouds, from the ground to the highest clouds, what would you say, about 6, 7 miles? To the highest clouds.
I wanted to say
cirrus
something
clouds.
else. I wanted to give you better
But
proof
I know
because-
you want to talk about something else because accountability is poison to religious belief. The sun is
Yes, if you have 70,000
865,000.
people.
The sun
No.
is
Listen, you have-
865,370 miles wide. And one of the witnesses said that the sun came down to the level of the treetops. Funny, 100,000 people there, or excuse me, 70,000 people there, but only one person saw the sun come down to the level of the treetops. Nobody else. Just that one. 70,000 people, but only one of them saw the sun come down to the treetops. And you know why? Because the sun is 865,370 miles wide. The sun could not even get close to the earth before it would cook everybody here. It cannot come below the clouds. There are a handful of people. There were a handful of people who claimed to have seen shit they did not see, that did not happen. That's the miracle.
So you have 70,000 people who have witnessed this miracle, and you can believe them or not?
We don't.
Now, you can.
No, we don't.
No.
We have 70,000 people who did not witness the miracle. There was a handful who witnessed the sun dancing about because they're staring at it. And it's a funny thing. When you stare at the sun like an idiot, it starts to dance, which is why when the modern pilgrims get out their cell phones, they can't record the dancing of the sun that they see with their eyes because their eyes are freaking out because, hey, stupid, you're looking at staring right into the sun. But the cameras don't have that problem. So on the camera, the sun doesn't dance. But if the 70,000 people at Fatima, only one said that the sun came down to the tree levels. Nobody else saw that. You know why nobody else saw that? It didn't fucking happen.
Also, look, you keep saying 70,000 people.
Actually,
listen, you keep saying 70,000 people saw this happen. Okay, yes, eyewitness testimony can be acceptable, but like, you can't just. I want you to answer the question. How do you know that these people weren't primed to believe what everybody else said was happening and they had a mass hallucination? How do you know that is the more reasonable explanation and for what happened than the sun dipping down to the earth or whatever, or Mother Mary talking to everybody about strange planets? How do you know that they weren't hallucinating, Kevin?
I found it very convincing because I had a bunch of personal supernatural experiences in my own faith. So I find this thing, and they are all related to Catholic apparitions and feasts and saints. So for me, it's like drinking a water. It's completely normal for me. I know it's true, and I know that you think it's not true. But for me,
Kevin,
but for me, it's a reality.
Do you believe everything everybody says? Do you believe everything everybody tells you?
No. I believe only what is very convincing, and that is Christianity.
Okay, but what if they're really convinced that they saw something like was impossible, like the sun dipping down to the earth? Are you automatically going to believe them just because they're really convinced by it? Are you going to believe them?
You know, your
You
questions
want
are
proof,
kind
right?
of going in, your questions are kind of going in a troll mode. So I wanted to tell you more. So I wanted to give you more of the evidence about the event.
But you can't give us
that
more.
are ahead of us.
You can't give us more until you give us some. You have not given us some. You gave us a bullshit story. Now you can tell me that you were driving down the
Okay.
road in your car. You can tell me that you were driving down the road in your car, and then one of your tires came off the car and came inside the car and came inside between you and the steering wheel, and then became between you and between your eye and the lens of your glasses. You can tell me that that's the same thing. If the tire on your car can fit painlessly between your eyeball and the lens of your glasses, then the sun can come down under the clouds.
Okay, Mr. Aron, then I will try to give you some evidence in the rest of my discussion. So,
But you understand,
one of the evidence,
the sun cannot and did not come down to the earth below the clouds. You understand that, right?
it did in my mind because it was the second sun, and
In
it
your
can
mind,
continue if that doesn't allow it.
in your mind, it might have happened. In your mind, lots of things can happen. If it's only in your imagination, then I'm not interested in talking about it.
But it's not imagination; it's a real event that 70,000 people.
But it can't be
witnessed.
because it's in your mind.
No,
We're talking about stuff
It's
that's
in
outside
reality
of your
that
mind.
70,000 people. In
Did
reality,
not see the
70,000
miracle.
people witnessed.
Hold on a
70,000
second.
people did
In
We're
not see the
repeating
miracle that
ourselves.
you're talking
Okay,
about.
we're repeating ourselves
Yes,
here,
they
Kevin.
did.
I missed that you said that I'm in troll mode. I'm not trolling you. I honestly want to believe you, but you have to give me a good reason to believe what you're saying. Like, for example, David Copperfield had a person in person trick where he made the Statue of Liberty disappear in front of an in person audience and on TV. Do you believe the Statue of Liberty actually disappeared and he put it back, or do you believe that was a magic trick, Kevin?
That was a magic trick.
Okay, so
That was a magic.
you can see where we're at right now. You're telling us things that do not square up with reality happened, and we're going to go with the more likely explanation that people were primed to believe this and that they were all hallucinating. We're not going to go because Kevin says he personally feels like this happened, that we're going to believe you. Just like we're not going to believe that David Copperfield actually made the Statue of Liberty disappear just because somebody in the audience says, I was there and I saw it. And this lines up with things that I've experienced personally myself. We're going to go with the more likely explanation.
I got to tell you, the reason the Fatima miracle is my favorite of all the claims of miracles that have ever been debunked, which this one has been. The reason that this is my favorite is because this is the only one I know of that is beyond flat Earth levels of stupid. Because even in the flat Earth model, such that we can say that there is a model, there is a sun that is something like 5,000 miles across. But even if it was 50 miles across on a flat Earth model, a 50-mile wide sun still cannot come to the Earth below the clouds. Not even if it's only 50 miles wide. It's insane stupidity. Or we should just take the word stupidity out of it. It's just insane. That did not happen. And that's why 70,000 people did not agree that they saw that. Very few saw the sun dancing in the sky, and very few of those said that they saw the sun come down to the earth. Not 70,000, a pitiful few. who were
Arn
apparently
has
stoned
his
and
dad.
stupid.
Arn's dad has he's gone now, but if you ever told him that Doug Henning's magic tricks like levitating or whatever didn't happen, he would get upset because he believed it actually happened. Now, what is Arn supposed to do in that situation? He's supposed to say, "Yeah, Dad, I could see that you personally believe this, and I respect that belief." Or is he supposed to go, Dad, it's a magic trick. What's he supposed to do? What are we supposed to do in this situation? You give us something that is physically impossible, and you say, "Believe me," because it happened to me, and I really believe this. What are we supposed to do in that
Will
situation?
you allow me to? Will you allow me to present you sensational evidence?
You don't apparently know what evidence is. I've just given you evidence against your position, and you failed to acknowledge it.
Will you allow me to say more?
When you can acknowledge the evidence I gave against your position.
When you answer Arn's question, give him
How
a
far
question.
is it from the ground to the highest clouds around the earth?
You didn't give me any evidence. You are denying that 70,000 people witnessed the sun miracle.
Because 70,000 people didn't report having seen it. Yeah, there's a very few people that reported seeing anything. And of those, even fewer report. Oh, I think it was only one who said that the sun came down to the treetops. A handful of people said that the sun came down under the clouds, which is why it's important to remember. How far is it from the ground to the top, the highest clouds? That's what, 7 miles tops? How big is the sun?
70,000 people witnessed the event.
Could 70,000 people have witnessed an 870,000 mile wide sun squeeze into a space of only 6 miles? Could any number of people could one person have seen that?
Aron, we obviously do not agree on the testimony of the people. Can we continue with better evidence?
I have a living blue whale
evidence?
inside this bottle. That's what you're telling me. I took a 100-foot long, 11 jillion ton blue whale and stuffed it in here using a pencil eraser. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Can I present you visible evidence?
No, you cannot, because you cannot acknowledge the evidence against you. How wide is the sun? How big is the sun?
That means that you do not want to accept the visible evidence.
No, that means you do not want to accept reasonable evidence. I'm asking you, how wide is the sun?
You know what? No, I know where Aron is going with this.
Aron.
We are done now. I've got another caller, and I will take anybody over you. Thank you for being for having, I don't know if you're the stupidest person. You might be a great liar, but you have the stupidest argument I've heard all year. Congratulations.
You have refused to take the evidence.
You don't.
That's not even true.
You have no idea what evidence even is.
Wait,
and you haven't acknowledged the evidence against you.
He evaded the question that I had for him. Hold on a second, Kevin. You said 70,000 people. Even if I grant you 70,000 people think they saw that, you still did not answer the question that how do you know that that were primed to they were having a mass hallucination? How do you know that that's not what actually happened?
I'm presenting you visible video tape of an evidence.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Now. Okay.
You're going to present me a YouTube channel. How wide is the sun?
Channel, a video.
Yeah. So
Aron,
and
there is a video of a sun miracle.
Yeah, and I've got video. I've seen video of unicorns and Pegasus flying around.
Aron,
How wide
can
is
you,
the sun?
if I tell you
How
the
wide
video,
is the sun?
the name of the video, can you watch that video right now and then comment on the video?
I am not on a live show going to go watch some video just so that some deranged idiot will be able to waste everybody's time. Good night, good news, and have a pleasant tomorrow. Okay, so I am going to pick up a call from, I think this is probably the last caller we've got. There were a couple more, but it took us a while to get to it. So, Levi,
Oh,
Levi,
hi.
are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I want to apologize in advance first because I accidentally kind of called in with a more political question than the topic at hand, and I just kind of did that because some of the other people were in there doing that. So, but anyways, I was just wondering, like, I am dealing with a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear with what's going on right now, and as I'm sure everybody is, but what I'd like to know is where do I put that fuel, or that energy, into positive things instead of just worrying about it? Because every time I learn something new in the news, I just get a miniature panic attack in my head, and I want to do like drastic things that I know wouldn't be very good. So, yeah, I was just kind of wondering.
I feel you.
Yeah, I just I don't know if there can be a peaceful revolt against this that can be successful, because a lot of times there have been times where a lot of these things just do not go as planned, and even if it is like a more aggressive revolt, things can go wrong there too. So
I am convinced that only a peaceful revolt will work. But it does mean some people got to wake the fuck up.
So like
Yeah.
so the question I think you're saying, from my understanding, is that the news is very anxiety provoking, and sure, yes, it is. And for me too. And what can you do about it? And one of the solutions a peaceful revolt or an aggressive revolt? Is that your question?
Yeah, kind of. I also just am wondering, like, what can I do on a regular basis to, like, help myself calm down? Because when I perceive a threat, I'm trained in martial arts, and when I see a threat, I want to crush it as soon as possible. But there are too many people that I think that are in league with Trump that would just be an overwhelming force against you and just crush you instead. So I just don't
Dude,
know.
there are people I love. There are people I love and have loved for decades who today have been barraging me with idiot videos celebrating Trump for freeing Venezuela, and then subsequently threatening Canada and Greenland and Denmark and Panama. People I'm tired of losing family and friends over this stupidity. I hate the fact that we have a propaganda system on both sides now. We have Fox News, which was always a paid propaganda channel, and then we have left-wing people, some of whom I like. But when I see that, okay, well, this is Ben Meiselas, so I know he's gonna say that Trump is destroyed or having a meltdown or what. No, it's a fucking exaggeration. Trump doesn't give a shit. There's no meltdown. Stop that. Brian Tyler Cohen, I appreciate when he brings the news, but everything's got to be sensationalized. Tell me the whole headline. Don't make it clickbait. I don't want to have to click the video to find out what the big thing is. Show me the whole fucking headline, and then if I'm interested, then I'll look at the story. That's the way it used to be when I was a kid. The news was. It was dispassionate. We don't get that anymore.
Well, I say, in answer to the question, what you could do, like in general, what I do is I enjoy the company of my loved ones. My husband Aron, my kids, my animals and stuff, and live day to day because it's like this huge, ginormous threat out there, and you're only one person. So perspective. But then if the and yeah, that's not going to be enough if it gets a lot worse. And we're already affected by this because we lost our health insurance,
Yeah,
and we're planning on not getting
Oh,
sick and dying. That's our health plan.
yeah.
So because we're self-employed, but
I, my,
but
my
then
my health plan is riding without a helmet.
you still got to enjoy yourself every day. But I don't recommend the riding without the helmet one. But anyways, you just got to find ways to get out of it for a little bit and enjoy your life. But you still have to pay attention. That's the problem, and that keeps you anxious, right? So
Yeah.
for as the solution to whether we should have a peaceful revolution or an aggressive one, I would what you were saying that Trump, there's a lot of people behind him, and that wouldn't work. I think that that's what he wants, and he would love to turn the military on people in the United States. He knows a lot of us hate him, most of us do, and that would be he's never shown any like compassion toward his fellow human beings, even his own supporters. So like, and also it would give him an excuse to stay in power, and or at least the Republican Party after him when he dies. But because declaring martial law. So this is what he would want. So like, I think that would just escalate things and make it worse. There's a Reichstag fire before Nazi Germany, where that Hitler claimed was caused by communists, and that was the reason why he took their civil rights away from them. So if we were to do something similar, we would get more of our civil rights taken than we already have. And that's not to say just be happy with what we got. We could lose more. How do we get it back? Is your question, so you could stop being anxious about it, and everybody else could stop being anxious about it. Like me. The only method that we have now is, and a lot of people roll their eyes at this, but there's midterms, and we got to think what action steps we can do that we can realistically accomplish. And yes, everybody will argue that maybe the vote won't count, or there's gerrymandering, whatever. But that's all. We can only do what we can realistically do.
And even if
And
there is,
and talk.
even if there are issues with that to restrain our vote or to minimize a vote, that only means that there's that much more impetus for all of us to vote.
Mhm.
And talk
Yeah.
to your friends about voting. And if you, I know if you have MAGA friends like Aron, they're beyond talking to. But there are independents and moderates that do not. Trump is getting more and more unpopular with. So this is some place where you could make a difference.
Some people in the chat are
Mm.
confused as to who this woman is chatting with me. Yes, this is my wife, Lilandra, my wife of 16 years.
Yeah.
This is something that you can realistically do.
Yeah. One of my problems right now is that I don't have a lot of friends, and my family is all a bunch of Seventh-day Adventist creationists.
Yeah.
And
Oh, boy.
they didn't. I mean, the good news is they didn't vote, but the bad news is that they didn't vote for either side this term. So it's like, thanks for nothing. And then my friend, my only close friend, he voted for Trump. He's like clearly lucid on everything else except for Trump for some reason. He thinks the deportations and all that other stuff that ICE is doing right now is a necessary evil because they're just using up our premiums. They're just using up our resources, and they're not contributing anything. So we just got to get rid of them. It's the only way. I'm just like, I don't know how to convince him by that thought process can be easily turned against anybody in this country and just be like, well, you're not A, B, C, or D, and you're not contributing, so you got to go. Like, how do I just do not know how to convince them on that, and it makes me even more anxious because I have almost nobody to turn to on this. Like, it just adds to my aggression and to my anxiety. It's just,
I get
yeah.
that. It's understandable.
And
But
I feel you.
With
I,
him though, if he says it's a necessary evil, he's gone one step closer to understanding, right? That it's evil. So, I mean, what can you say that could get him to take another step out of that delusional belief that he has? You know why he's wrong. And what could you say to convince him to come on, step a little more over here to the right side?
Well, I
This
think the ends just don't justify the means.
do they have
I
health care?
think, yeah, they don't. They shouldn't. At least that's what I'm hearing from the left, but from the right, I'm hearing, oh, they're taking our they're taking our health care and stuff like that. And I don't know
Well, they
exactly
took
on
mine.
that issue. Huh?
They took mine. As
The
an
the
entrepreneur, I only had the
oh,
option of Obamacare. That was the only reason that I was
oh,
able to leave the when I had dependent children, you have to provide insurance when you have dependent children. You have to. So when I started work as self-employed, I had to have insurance coverage, and the only available option was Obamacare. That's it. And while it wasn't great, I have to remind everybody that Obama made the foolish thing of trying to compromise with Republicans. So he based Obamacare on Romney Care. So this was Mitt Romney came up with the program. Republican Mitt Romney, Mormon Mitt Romney came up with the plan that became the Affordable Care Act, which they now denigrate as Obamacare. We should have had a national health care system, but when they promoted a national healthcare system for, or not national, but a statewide healthcare system in California, all the propaganda comes up about how they're going to be seizing property from people. Just any lie necessary to keep you paying higher insurance premiums so that you continue to pay the highest prices for prescription drugs and insurance and co-pays, everything out the nose.
Okay,
Because they,
somebody in the chat had a suggestion. They said, I know I'm I vote Democrat, but I'm not necessarily a Democrat, not in its current form. But they said join your local because you feel isolated because your family are 7-day Adventists, creationists, and non-voters, and very difficult to reach, and your friends MAGA, and also difficult to reach. They said maybe join your local Democratic Party, and you may connect with some people there. And a lot of people say I've been to the local meetings too, and sometimes I don't always agree with them. But the only way that we can change the Democratic Party is the same way that the Tea Party, which is now MAGA, changed the Republican Party, is to go to their meetings and support more progressive candidates that are more in line with us.
and the Democrats know that they're under a schism right now. The old the status quo establishment corporatists of 2016 no longer hold any power. They know they're the problem. Those 8 Democrats who voted with Republicans, which are the reason why we don't have health care now, they know they're the problem. The only good guys in politics right now are not just Democrats, because being Democrat doesn't mean you're good, damn sure. But the only good guys in politics right now are progressive leftists. And that's a minority of the Democratic Party.
hmm. See,
It's
the
not
thing
a
about
necessarily a minority. I don't remember what the last numbers are, but could be at a minimum 30% of the Democratic Party is left of the party. So I
hmm,
we're going to see as more people start to die off, frankly, that younger people are more progressive, and we're already seeing that happen in the polls. That those people that swung, that are independent and young, to Trump, are he is way, way, way underwater with them now, and he lost all of that. So already, so be encouraged by that. That there are people like us out there, and we just have to organize. And people have been saying just don't vote because both parties are bad. They've been saying that since 10 years ago. If they had done this and supported progressive candidates in the primaries, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Here's a good way to demonstrate the people who say don't vote. Don't vote. Both parties are just as bad. It's a corrupt system. Whatever. That stupid philosophy. Pull your pants down, bend over, part your butt cheeks. That's the position you're going to have to take if you don't vote.
We wouldn't be in this timeline now if more people that organized and got together, just like the Tea Party did. It's not as simple as slacktivism. You have to organize and together with like-minded people.
But I feel you. I've been a political activist for the last quarter century or more now. And the really shitty thing is I was, when I started this thing, I was fighting against Christian nationalists, and they've won. They own and control everything now. So imagine you feel frustrated. Imagine how I feel. I spent 25 years of my life trying to warn people who will not listen about what's happening. And my best friends, not my very best friend, but close friends, still support Donald Dumbass because they just can't understand what the fuck is going on, because they only watch propaganda channels. And so I have to help them unlearn what they've learned to teach them real stuff. And then when I do that, and I think I've succeeded, I then get a volley of new videos.
Now, somebody in the chat suggested also, I don't know if you're already doing this. I understand about having anxiety. I have it as well. Like maybe counseling and whatever, seeking help, that sort of help would help. But also maybe you need to, like, when I first started this, I was Christian. I actually have a picture of me with Bill O'Reilly from when I was in my 20s.
Oh, Jesus.
I went to, yeah, I went to a radio party from back in the day, and when Rush Limbaugh was still alive, and that's how I got a picture with him. And I'm a former Republican, so it does happen, and just seek out people who are. And my point of saying that is I lived in Odessa, Texas, and the only meetup group there was Mike Huckabee.
The Friends of Mike Huckabee.
And so it was really hard to find people who were like me. And so, like, hopefully you're in a better place geography-wise, so that you can find some more like-minded people so you don't feel so isolated and alone, and get together with other people.
Yeah. I just don't like what Aron just brought up, was with his frustration with working so hard and yet totally, completely failing. It makes me wonder if we just need, and I kind of hesitate to say this, we need, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say because they'll probably make me look bad. Like, I wouldn't usually say this, but emotionally, I would say, I would like, fuck this, fuck the Constitution. We need a new one. We need a new Constitution that protects science and protects reason and is guided just by that, even more so than the last Constitution was. So I don't know. Like, these are just thoughts roaming around in my head that just like are thinking, like, if you see a threat and it's like up and has this much power just crush it and just don't give it any room to grow any further. Either that or leave.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know
actually
any other
completely
option.
down. I'm actually completely down with what you're saying because I know what the founding fathers meant by what they said, and I agree. And what they meant was still correct. It's just the way that people interpret some things about this. So I would love to reword the Bill of Rights, for example, just to be a little bit more clear. That I would have I probably would have been a little too clear regarding freedom of religion, and I'm totally down with freedom of religion. Nobody's a better defender of the freedom of religion than an atheist. But I would say that since there is absolutely no actual factual evidence of God, nor logically valid arguments for a God either, but plenty of both against, then that means that the state must take the position that this evidently does not exist. And we certainly would be dishonest if we start speculating and asserting our baseless speculation as if it was a matter of fact about the details of such a thing. We have to perform our business as if there is no God. We must, because that's the only way we're going to achieve anything.
I also wanted to make
Yeah.
another point, a separate point, because people are saying I haven't been following the chat as much because I'm listening to you, but they're saying that there's some both parties are the same people, why vote people, and there's this real element of some people. I don't know if it's just online trolling, how pronounced it is, of people being accelerationists. They think if you don't vote, eventually the system will collapse. Well, let's think about that. What happens if the United States government collapses? They think that a utopia will spring up in its place, and we'll all have communism, and everybody will get what the things that they need. Uh, but we don't live in an isolated system. We live on a planet with other countries that would love to see us collapse and would move in right away and take us over. Russia, China, people. It's like the people live in a fantasy world, and even this collapse. Even if you tell them, lots of innocent people are going to get killed, not just even by drones and bombs, but by preventable diseases. No access to antibiotics. You know, they don't get it. Like people die every year from when an electrical power goes out during a heat wave or during a cold spell. So that kind of system collapse is going to hurt vulnerable people the most. And also, they don't even think about it. They just think they just sold on this fantasy. Like this, some of them are like this Mad Max type accelerationist where they think they're going to ride around in these modified go-karts and crap, because like dystopian type thing, and they're just going to be so cool and shoot at people and whatever, but that's all like a silly fantasy to me.
I'm more on the side of the V for Vendetta vision of things, but I know, like you said, it's fantasy, so we can't rely on a superhuman to like take down the corrupt government for us and expect everybody to just fall in line like that. It's a little bit unreal, but I do believe that we need something to like spread the word as fast as and as thoroughly as possible that you are living in a dystopia right now and you need to change it right now, or else it's just going to get worse. I don't want it to be like a total. I don't know. Like like you said, like revolutions are hard, and they create a lot of death and a lot of destruction that can hurt innocent people. So I don't know. Like I realize that when I consciously, or more say logically, that this line of thinking is kind of destructive in a way, but I also know that there is some truth in that. we just got to figure out where the balance is, and that's always hard because we're imperfect people. We're trying to create a society with in imperfect minds and imperfect people, and the only way we can be certain of anything is through science and reason. And now that's being destroyed in front of our very eyes, and I just don't know what the logical response to that is, other than just revolt, French Vive la Revolution. You know, I don't know.
You know, we don't live in the type of world anymore that where the French Revolution happened either. We live in a world of intercontinental ballistic missiles. We live in a world of airplanes that could reach us and start bombing us. We're not an isolated country. We're
Worse
part of
than
a
that, we live in a
world
world where
community.
somebody can show up with a briefcase with a bomb in it.
So like
Yeah.
we don't have I mean, I come from my parents met during the Vietnam War, and my father was an American soldier. My mother Vietnamese, and my grandfather was in the South Vietnamese army. After the Vietnam War and it collapsed, they took my grandfather's house. And so you think revolution is the way to go, right? And that communism will somehow work. But you got to remember, like you said, we're imperfect people and there are greedy people. And you're going to concentrate just all of our resources to distribute in a few people government hands, like what happened in Venezuela with Che Guevara, now Maduro. All of that money from their natural resources under communism didn't go to the people. It went to oligarchs in Venezuela and all around the country. Because communism works in theory. In practice, and communists will argue about this with you all day, but that you can't name one communist government that ever worked. And if you're not talking about a real communist government, then you're just talking about theory, and we're talking about what we can do to help.
I want to remind everybody, my wife is thoroughly leftist, and so am I. So,
but I'm not a communist.
Gotcha.
Oh, I don't know where I land on that whole scale. I'm on the left, but I do not know if I would consider myself communist necessarily, because these labels have been perverted and diluted so much that I don't know if I want to associate with that. I'm just more
I try to
of a person
do it very
who just
simple. I try to look at it very simply. The left cares about human rights over corporate profits. That's where our priorities lie. Whereas the right will do whatever to support the billionaire class and the corporations, thinking that they're going to get a trickle down that never comes, has never come in the entirety of my lifetime, but they'll never learn from past failures. So that's the way I look at it. Being left does not necessarily mean communist. It doesn't even necessarily mean a socialist. My wife is a socialist. I'm kind of right on the border.
I'm a democratic socialist.
Yeah, and I'm a social democrat by most standards. But both of us, we support the people, we support the environment, we support healthcare, and the right just wants to rape and pollute everything they can and get everybody to shut up and let them do it.
And then if you try to debate them, they'll say, violence, get them down. You know, that's how they work.
On that note,
I know.
On that note, we're talking about rebellion
you're right.
and all
Hugo
this.
Chavez. I'm sorry about that.
And I'm fully down. I'm fully down with the revolution. But I've understood a long time ago that, I mean, I have guns like every other leftist has guns, but I'm not going to be killing anybody. I will, however, die for what I believe in.
If it's a just cause, that I would totally be down with it. But so many people died in the Vietnam War, for what they thought was a just cause on our side, that we were liberating people, and then so many people in Vietnam died, women and children. Like the reports of the people in the army whose job it was to go collect casualty numbers. They said invariably, whenever they arrived at one of these places, there would be like women and children dead everywhere. Like it's not a video game. There's real people when you have these type of violent actions. And things didn't get better in Vietnam until they started having some reforms to where they allowed people to have their own businesses and stuff like that. You just concentrate wealth in the hands of a very few people, and that wealth doesn't a lot of times make it down to everybody. They hoard it.
Yep.
Yeah. I just yeah, I'm just expressing like how I kind of feel. I'm expressing my id, so to speak.
Well, you're
like I said,
also
I was
you're also speaking for us in part, because I so feel what you're saying.
yeah. I just want, like, I was watching, I know I don't mean to divert the conversation, but I was watching this anime called Dr. Stone, and it's all about science. And it shows you how to break stuff down from scratch, bare necessities, how to create scientific things like a telephone or a telescope or glasses or something like that. And it makes me so sad that people want to see this go away, this amazing thing called science that has given us so much, and they just want to abandon it because they don't understand it. It makes me, I don't know, it makes me just like say, like, either I want to flee or I'm just like, no more. Like, no, I don't want to see this happen. It's very, how should I say, it's very discouraging to see people, especially like my parents, who now are starting to reject vaccines just because they had a friend that got sick from the COVID vaccine, supposedly, and they have this story and they have that story, and they're just like, you're using your caveman brain. Stop using your caveman brain where we tell stories around a campfire and we take it as truth because we don't know what for sure about anything. So it's yeah. If I'm trying to think, I'm sorry, I kind of had a brain fart here. There was something else I wanted to say, but
Yeah,
I do
gather that thought, because I've appreciated a lot of what you've said so far. I can't tell you how frustrated I am. I can tell you the frustration my wife has shown. In this last election a year ago, we were sitting on top of so many wonderful things that was about to happen.
There were
And
still a lot of bad things, I admit it, but those weren't going to get better by neglecting the system.
no, they could have gotten better if the election had gone the way that it should have. We could have fixed that too. But instead, everything went straight through the fucking toilet. And I remember my wife wept. And I didn't know what to do, because I was similarly weakened. I was cut off at the knees. I had that kind of a feeling. I don't understand. How the fuck can we have 70 million people in this country vote for somebody who is so obviously not just stupid, not just a liar, but who is obviously evil and self-serving and who will destroy everything we care about? How can 70 million people not fucking see that?
Well, we're starting to get to where we started off this show with. It's propaganda. This is how we got here. Propaganda. And it's being spread on the internet. Not even just the internet, like the mainstream news sources have given Trump such a pass on criticism, and whatever guarded criticism they gave him, he's suing him over it. So why are you being so careful and afraid? You know, just go out and tell the truth to people
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. The thing about the Democratic Party is that I think, like you said, there is a division in the Democratic Party, but the ones who have the most power, most of them, seem to want to move further right because they think in their brains, for some reason, that it was the quote unquote extreme leftists that made them lose. So now they're trying to disavow everybody else, like their main their main supporter, their main audience, I should say. And
The thing is,
uh,
you can't get the common people to continue to vote for the billionaire class and for the corporations to have rights over those of real people. You can't expect that forever. So the establishment corporatists, which are the people you're describing now, they're being completely unrealistic, but it's going to be the people eventually
I've
who
seen
have to take power back for themselves.
a lot of commentary on what you're talking about, how people think that we went too far left and that was our problem. And we even lost some young men in that process and stuff like that. But what people should take heart in is like what the numbers actually show is we lost some voters. We had some switch voters over number one, the economy, and number two, Gaza. So like those aren't the economy is something that Americans do to punish the party that's in power. Because they blame the party that's in power for the economy. So that there was kind of no way around it, and there was no denying that the economy is awful. But even it's worse now. So maybe take heart in that in midterms, if things shake down, that they will punish the Republican Party, and we'll have a Congress, at least in the House of Representatives, that can put some brakes on some of this stuff.
I think it interesting
Yeah.
that I have my wife on. She's been a political activist since I've known her. I have Lawrence on. He's a Bible scholar. We don't get any calls to talk about the Bible. They don't want to face him at all. And and my wife's strength is in political commentary and activism, and that's where the show went.
So like,
Yeah.
don't lose heart, Levi. I've been getting a little bit of a boost from some of the special elections where Democrats have been winning.
There's been quite a lot of that. I
Yeah.
mean, the Tim Walz thing
That's
irritates the fuck
discouraging.
out of me because
Yeah.
I was so impressed with him. It wasn't that when I voted, I wasn't voting for Kamala. I tell you honestly, I was voting for Tim Walz because he was further left than she is. The last time I was in
Yeah.
Minnesota, I did my very best to arrange a meeting with him, which it just wasn't. I was there on Easter weekend. It was impossible.
There's some people in the comments from Minnesota who are very discouraged about what they're doing to Tim Walz right now. And that's the thing I was
Yeah,
talking
like
about earlier. Yeah. The
Joe
propaganda, the
Rogan
internet.
and like Joe Rogan is going off on him and his audience, and he's like the second most famous podcaster in the world. Do you know how much influence that is? And he's
Yes.
going
For
off and
somebody
saying
with
Tim Walz is a
no
terrible person.
education at all, isn't that disturbing?
Yeah. And the thing that pisses me off is that he's a martial artist like I am, or I'm trying to get back into martial arts, but it puts a bitter taste in my mouth that the martial arts community, because of the way it's going with the UFC, I don't mean to get off topic, but it just really disappoints me that we went from a place of, okay, we're being scientific about this with jiu-jitsu and MMA, but let's not be rational about anything else because Dana White is in league with Donald Trump. It's just, it almost makes me not want to take martial arts anymore, but I do it because I want to teach people to be especially people of minority groups, to defend themselves and to not feel more confident in themselves and not have to be worried and not have to be totally reliant on a gun because that can get you in trouble if you shoot somebody dead. And even you can kill a person with martial arts too. And don't get me wrong, but there's ways of putting down and restraining a person with martial arts without harming them too much. And it almost makes me like wonder if I chose the wrong path. But I don't know. I like putting martial arts with everything else I'm interested in, like with science and art in general and history. I want to go back to college, but I don't know like how good the colleges are going to be being defunded and being controlled by Trump nowadays. But I don't know. It's just
it's going to have to be.
I'm really discouraged that Rogan. I don't follow him, but what you're saying that he's sharing all of the conspiracy stuff about Tim Walz right now. It doesn't even matter to people, and this is such a gut punch to me. It doesn't even matter to that what they're saying about Tim Walz is not true.
Yeah.
Like the whole conspiracy about the Somali daycare or whatever, it's not even true. It's some made up cockamamie bullshit, and it's that doesn't matter to millions of people or to Joe Rogan, and it should matter whether it's true or not. And then Trump can just we're so post truth at this point. Trump accused Tim Walz of being responsible for the deaths of the representatives that died in Minnesota.
Really?
And
we are talking about
yes.
we're talking about somebody who was a Trump supporter disguised as a police officer who murdered her and her husband and their dog.
Yeah, that was a golden retriever too. And I love golden retrievers. Like, you have no idea, because my dog was a golden retriever, and that's like a very much.
I have
like,
a Great Pyrenees right behind me right now. I feel you.
Yeah, the dog didn't even do anything. It was just there. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But how do you went to their door, you knock on their door, you're a cop, you're disguised as a cop, there's a person, a human being answers the door, you shoot her, shoot that guy, shoot the dog, all for Trump. That's the fucking level of evil and stupidity that we're in right now.
And that people want to believe that just because Trump said it, that Tim Walz did it or somehow connected to it. It's just
this
so
is the Christian right. These are the people who are supposed to turn the other cheek, right? These are the people who are supposed to forgive thy neighbor, right? When they found out that Tim Walz had a mentally disabled son, they fucking shamed him publicly, as publicly as they possibly could. You shame somebody who's mentally disabled to their family? Why? Because the family wants to help you against the asshole who wants to destroy everything you care about? Why the fuck are we so stupid as a country?
Yeah.
I know. People just want to listen to whatever their itching ears want to hear. They don't, the truth is secondary.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if it's just times up on democracy, because historically, and I don't know if this is totally completely true, but democracies and republics usually last historically for about 200 years or more. And then they devolve into dictatorships. I don't know like how true that is, but it seems like time has been up, and the economy, the way capitalism works, just kind of adds on to itself, adds on to the debt, adds on to everybody's poverty, and eventually just collapses, and we turn to a big strong man to solve all of our problems. And
yeah, it's late stage capitalism. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Late stage capitalism. The wealth is already concentrated in a very few people's hands in this country, and they're trying to grab more. They're just
I would love
looting
to
the
see this
crap out of
nation
us.
become the social democracy that I hoped that it would be, just in thinking about, the more we know, the better we become, the constant improvements, right? That's where we should have been. when I was a kid and I was 11 years old. I'm thinking about, the better things get, the more we know, the more we learn, the better our educational institutions become. This is where we'll end up. And then idiocracy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a few sociopaths or psychopathic narcissists that end up tricking people into taking power and then trick the rest of the populace to give up even more and more of their rights and their knowledge and their sanity to them.
Like V for Vendetta,
So,
like you brought up, like the
yeah,
movie V for Vendetta. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they use fear to cause people to give up their civil rights. Somebody said that if you or, if you're so afraid to the point where you're going to give up your rights for your security, you don't really deserve either.
Yeah.
Like this fear. I'm mauling that quote.
Yeah, but I can't remember it exactly verbatim either, so no judgment from me.
Mhm.
It was. I think the quote was, "Those who desire." Yeah, I don't remember either. Sorry.
We all have, but we can't remember it exactly.
Yeah.
We know the spirit of the sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that I think somebody else, like Thomas Jefferson, said, "I would rather have dangerous freedom than peaceful slavery." I think that's another good quote. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for talking to me. You have no idea how relieving it is to actually like talk to somebody who actually knows what's going on, because my close friend, he's like rational about most things, but for some reason with Trump, he just kind of throws motion to the wind and just like, oh, well, I'm just going to say you're biased if you think, what was it? What that I showed him? You're biased for showing me a news source that told when Donald Trump first enacted the statement that everybody who's associated with communists or anti-capitalist or anti-Christian is considered a terrorist now. And he called me extremist because the article I sent to him was a left-leaning source. So I don't know how to get through to him on that. Like, it's just like, I told him, like, I read the thing myself. I read the statement on the White House website myself. And it doesn't, like, he said, well, the way they're going to enact it, it changes it. I don't know how. Why? I yet to hear him explain to me how the way they're enacting this rule that everybody on this list of things is a terrorist now, how that makes it any better. Like, I just don't know.
There are four different criteria. There are four different criteria right now that put me under a target of the president's task force to be eliminated. My own country is hunting me down for being better than my government.
That someone was saying if this helped at all connecting with like-minded people, I don't know if you want to seek out counseling, that was their saying, and I get that for a lot of people, they need it right now. But also try and find some more like-minded people like yourself too.
Yeah, social media is still good for that. At least you can at least network with local groups that you can meet up and have drinks with.
Yeah, that sounds nice. So you said my local Democratic Party center or something like that, or
look up your local satanic group. If not,
even if you don't find a lot of people that are like you at your local Democratic precinct group, they bring more people like you. Find more people. That these meetings are often like not that well attended, and if you bring enough people, you could flip that whole group progressive easy. Away from the corporate Democrats easy.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what else to say right now, but there's probably some other things, but I just can't remember, and I don't know how long you're willing to stay on this call. But I
What do
just
we have?
think that. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. What do we have coming up, Aron? Do we have reading the comments?
We have not had another caller in the queue for a while.
So
we had one theist while you were on, and he was the most bewilderingly inane theist that I have spoken to since you and I had that 3-hour conversation with a flat earther. And this guy is actually dumber than that one was.
Mhm. Yeah, we've debated people together before.
To squeeze
Yeah.
the sun below the clouds to the treetops.
Yeah.
And only one person reports it that way out of 70,000.
Yeah. I am seeking, or I have a therapist right now, and she's pretty good. But lately we've been focusing on some of my other issues. But I should probably turn it back to politics, because the things that are happening in the world right now is seriously negatively affecting my mental stability. And if I want to continue to get better, I need some stability. But I don't know, like I've considered shutting off getting off YouTube, because most of the people, even a lot of people on the left right now, are starting to really tick me off. And it's all a part of the plan, so to speak. It's all about sensationalism, and it's not about facts. It's about how many clicks you can get and how much advertisers can we brainwash you with. And,
Aron and me talk about that too, how some of the left sources they've always got this clickbaity title, like Trump is stunned by this or whatever, and then they don't have any really substantial evidence in there for what they're saying, or sometimes it's not even true. It's really annoying.
All right, so we're going to have to, and I want, you're my favorite call of the day, so thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I got into a lot of what you were saying, and I very much appreciate it. Our producers are going to have to close. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
Our producers are going to have to close this up shortly, so we're going to move on to the super chats section. And I thank you for being on, and thank you for your call.
Thank you. You've always, I've watched your stuff since 2008. So I really appreciate your content and stuff like that, and what you're trying to put out.
Thank you kindly.
All right. Well, you guys have a good evening, and happy belated New Year, I guess.
Yes. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
All right. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Let's talk super chats.
Hooray.
We got these ready?
Yeah, you should be able to see it.
I haven't been able to see me most of the time. I keep disappearing off the screen.
Oh, you have to like double click that window, and it should like make it go full screen so you can see everything.
Okay. Lilandra, read the first one.
Okay, just a second. $4.99 from Juju Penguins. If Guy Fieri puts on a rainbow shirt, would he transform into Gay Fieri? Every time I see him, the VeggieTales cheeseburger song plays in my head. I don't know who Guy Fieri.
He's somebody with a really bad hair dye.
Oh my goodness!
He's like got a cooking show or something.
Oh, got you.
I thought he had tigers. I'm confusing with somebody else.
No, Guy Fieri is the guy who like goes. He's like a dive-ins, drive-ins, and something like that. Like he has a whole cooking show.
Okay.
And I do know the VeggieTales cheeseburger song from my Christian days.
Lilandra might end up having to read all of these because for whatever reason I can't figure out, I keep blinking off screen, and when I do, the text that I'm supposed to read becomes this tiny little thumbnail at the top of my screen that I can't
Can
blow
you
up. I
click
can't.
the tiny little thumbnail that has the super chats on it?
Well, that has not worked so far.
Okay, we'll have to troubleshoot
Okay,
this later.
All
I've
right.
even showed Arn the VeggieTales cheeseburger song because it's a Christian kids show, but that song is not anything about Christianity. It's about love of cheeseburgers. And Arn is like, I can't believe she made me watch this. Okay.
$10 Australian from Primordial Puggles. Lilandra and Aron Raw, awesome, but I'm going to miss most of it, and I'll catch up later.
Thank you. £5? Euros.
Yep.
Oh, it's pounds. It's a pound sign. From sorry about that. I don't have to read the at sign. Mystic Mind Analysis. This is exactly why I will accept alliances with progressive Christians for a united front against fascism. Make bullying wrong again. Humanity first. And I am the same as you. There's a Texas Free Thought Coalition here in Texas where I would ally with progressive Christians and Jews over some non-Christians who are MAGA. I would definitely.
$5 from Joshua Everett, 98887. Love you both, and all of the hosts, mods, and chat. It's discouraging sometimes, but we at least have this community to help us all through it. Now there's that.
Yeah, like community is one of the things that has always historically helped people get through really bad times, such as the LGBTQ community. And they've had some successes banding together and organizing together. Asian community, Black community.
This one's for you to read.
$10 from Stephen Wyatt, 1966, to help pay the bill.
Yeah.
To keep our lights on. Here.
Yeah, we really need all the help we can get. Yeah, patreon.com/ARONRA. Things have got, and I know they're tight for everybody, but when you make your living off of donations and everybody else who's making those donations find themselves in a really bad economy, you can imagine how that would impact us. So need all the help we can get. Thank you. $9.99 from Demouser. The Raw House's internet isn't strong enough for their power. Interestingly, her and I have different internet because we've been we do different jobs, and so independent systems. So I guess
there's
mine
three
was the weaker
ISPs
of the...
you could be screwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$5 from Joshua Everett, 9887. I do love me a nice classic Fatima call. I guess.
That's the most ridiculous miracle.
Yeah.
$5 from President Starscream. I like that name. I'm mad as hell about the socio-political state of the U.S. right now, yet despite all of my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. Still going to vote, though. That could make a good song, I think.
I know. Some people say what's lost can never be saved, though. Just a rat in a cage. $4.99 from Vanessa Beasley, 78885. Thank you, Vanessa Beasley.
All right. Well, I guess we are done. Honey, I'm really glad to have had you on tonight. This was like a perfect night to have you on. there were people that I sincerely think needed to hear from you tonight.
Yeah. Well, I've been really discouraged too, and a lot of times you feel like you're not making a difference. I feel like I didn't really like the last Star Wars movie, but we're at that part where everybody thinks the Empire is all powerful and there's nothing you can do, you know? And then they all show up to help out Leia at the end, you know? Like
Yeah.
if you
Well,
if
we'll
you
see at
see them that
midterms.
power that there's nothing you can do and your own self-defeatism, then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Got to
We'll,
show.
we'll see if that prophecy comes true come midterms.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for co-hosting with me tonight. You've been amazing.
Thank you for being amazing too, Aron.
I love this woman.
Yeah, you're getting
Gross.
everybody out. That's what I thought. See, already. Yeah.
All right, roll credits.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, where's that music? There we go.